Part 42. I really didn't want to be a warm man when I was reborn. Author, Li Yuanzhe. Chapter 412. Beep, beep, beep. The phone was hung up. Wang Haining looked at the phone, bit her lip, and dialed again. The number you dialed is currently on a call. She hung up the phone, waited for a while, and dialed again. Same beep. After waiting for a while, she dialed for the third time without giving up. The result is still the same beep. Wang Haining finally confirmed her guess, and her phone number was blocked. But why did Li Zhe block her phone number? He knew the call was from her, so he didn't answer it? Not too possible. Does that mean he doesn't answer unknown calls? It would be difficult if Li Zhe didn't answer the unknown call. With this in mind, Wang Haining walked to the artificial lake and found a chair to sit down on. It was already after 5 o'clock in the evening, the sky was completely dark, the street lights were on, and there were students in twos and threes scattered by the lake, walking or sitting on chairs chatting and laughing, most of them lovers. Wang Haining is very conspicuous sitting here, and many boys are looking towards her. As a star student, there are very few students in the school who don't know her. Among them, a boy with a handsome figure seemed to want to come over to strike up a conversation, but hesitated. After looking at the lake for a while, Wang Haining took out her phone again, opened her address book, and looked at Zhang Jingxian's number. After hesitating for a moment, he dialed. The phone rang for a while before it was connected. Zhang Jingxian's voice came from the other side. Haining, are you okay? There was a coldness and distance in her voice. Wang Haining bit her lip and whispered in a pleading tone, Senior sister, can I see Mr. Li again? I want to apologize to him face to face. Zhang Jingxian was silent on the other side of the phone for a few seconds, and said coldly, now that things are like this, stop thinking about it and just study hard. Okay, I have something else to do, so I won't talk to you anymore. After saying that, she hung up the phone. Listening to the beeping sound of the phone, Wang Haining bit her lip, feeling very uncomfortable. People are connected through communication and interests. Classmates who had a good relationship when they were students will gradually lose contact after graduation because they live in different circles. When you get a job, it becomes even more realistic. In the same company, everyone is a colleague and friend, but when you leave your job, the contact will be quickly lost. Zhang Jingxian was good to Wang Haining in the past. On the one hand, the two were teachers and sisters at the same school and had a close relationship. On the other hand, and most importantly, Wang Haining has value and the potential to become a first-line player. When you are of value to others, others will value you and treat you well. But now Wang Haining has been hidden by Li Zhe personally, and has no value anymore. Besides, Zhang Jingxian would definitely be dissatisfied with Li Zhe because of Wang Haining's incident. If she didn't take into account the last bit of human kindness, she wouldn't even answer the phone. After putting away her phone, Wang Haining stood up from her chair and prepared to leave. At this time, the boy who wanted to strike up a conversation finally plucked up the courage and walked over. Classmate, you are the king. Wang Haining smiled apologetically at the boy, sorry, I'm in a bit of a hurry. After saying that, he turned around and left. She has no mind to deal with others now. The boy who was left standing there turned red, and couldn't help but whisper, what's so great? I acted in 2 dramas by relying on others, and I really think I'm a big star. After Wang Haining heard this, she paused and continued walking forward. There is no need to be serious with the other person. She would not let such a person get his wish if he wanted to destroy it if he couldn't get it. Wang Haining returned to the dormitory. There were only Cai Jiayan and the girl who had fought against Wang Haining in the dormitory. Seeing Wang Haining back, Cai Jiayan sneered disdainfully. The scandal of the other party has been spread in the school, and it turns out that she is the one who is reasonable. This shameless woman should be taught a lesson. Wang Haining glanced at Caijian coldly, and then said to another girl, Tinjing, can I borrow your mobile phone? Of course, the girl named Tinjing said with a smile. She took out her cell phone and handed it to Wang Haining. Haining, please ignore those gossips. I know you are not that kind of person. Thank you, Tinjing. Wang Haining felt warm in her heart and felt like crying. Unexpectedly, Zhong Tinjing, who did not have a very good relationship with her, would stand up to support her and believe in her when others were making trouble. Thanks. Wang Haining said thank you again, controlled her emotions, took the phone, entered Li Zhe's number, and dialed it. This time, it is no longer that the phone you dialed is currently on a call, but a beeping standby sound. It's just that Li Zhe didn't answer the phone. Purple Garden Villa. It's the most critical moment for Li Zhe and Lu Yufei to play opposite each other. It's Yan's hyping, no, it's the scene after Zhen's hyping takes off Xiao Longnu's clothes. This part is not in the drama. As soon as the camera turns, it becomes Yang Guo and Wang Feng learning Toad skills. In the spirit of being realistic about performance, Li Zhe decided to act out the scene with Xiao Longnu, no, with Lu Yufei. Lu Yufei was still a little reluctant about this. She really didn't have the spirit to sacrifice for the performance. However, after half coaxing and half persuading from Li Zhe, she reluctantly agreed. Although the scene has few lines, it is quite difficult to perform. No, the lines are still a bit off. But at this moment, the phone rang again. Li Zhe suddenly felt a little angry. Who the hell always called and harassed him at critical moments? He arranged for Ruan Jing to guard outside because he was afraid that Liu's mother would ruin his good deeds. No, it would affect the scene between him and Lu Yufei. Unexpectedly, his cell phone was causing trouble for him. Li Zhe didn't want to pay attention, but the phone kept ringing. After automatically hanging up, it rang again soon. Brother Zhe, why don't you take the call? Lu Yufei said softly. Li Zhe let out a heavy breath, stood up and picked up his phone. Another unfamiliar number. He pressed down the phone with a pop, and this time he directly set it to reject all unknown calls. Sissy, let's continue. Now he finally understood why men wanted to be dragon knights. In the dormitory. Listening to the prompt tone on the phone, the number you dialed is currently on a call. Wang Haining immediately understood that this phone number had also been blocked by Li Zhe. It seems that he really doesn't answer unknown calls. She bit her lip, feeling a little frustrated. When she saw Zhao Yuhuan before, she couldn't get close to Li Zhe even if she wanted to, and she felt funny in her heart. Now she also understands the other person's mood. She wanted to get close to Li Zhe, but she didn't even have a chance to get close to him. Wang Haining suddenly realized that there was a huge identity gap between her and Li Zhe. Li Zhe is the boss of a large group and a rich man worth billions, but she has been hidden by the company. Now she is just an ordinary student. It is not easy to see him. Seeing Wang Haining stunned, Zhong Tinjing on the side called her softly and said, Haining, didn't you get through the phone? Well, it didn't get through. Wang Haining came to her senses, smiled, and returned the phone to the other party. Tinjing, thank you. So what if it's not easy? No matter how difficult it is, she will do it. Encountering setbacks, Wang Haining was inspired to fight. Sitting down at the desk, she opened her laptop and began to search for information about Kudong Group on the internet. She didn't believe she couldn't find a chance. That's how people are, the more things they can't get, the more they want them. The next morning, when Li Zhe woke up, he found that Lu Yufei was already awake, lying in his arms, staring at him with a cold expression. Last night, the two of them acted together until late at night, and even had dinner in the bedroom. In order to be a dragon knight, no, in order to perform, Li Jie even ignored his body and performed the scene correctly over and over again, working tirelessly. "Brother Jie, you're awake." Seeing that he was awake, Lu Yufei immediately showed a smile on her face. Yeah, Li Jie also smiled at her and kissed her on the face. He could clearly feel that Lu Yufei was closer to him and more dependent on him. It seems that the old saying is still true: relationships are cultivated, and love grows over time. Li Jie also knew that the two of them were developing too fast. But now he really doesn't have the patience to have sex with girls anymore. Besides, the two of them were already on a blind date. Lu Yufei couldn't say she liked him very much, but Liu's mother really took a liking to him. However, why do these words feel so ambiguous? Dating is all about negotiating terms. Whatever is suitable is enough. It doesn't matter whether you have feelings or not. Don't think that celebrities are anything special. Without that halo, they are just ordinary people. Just like Lu Yufei, she also goes on a blind date and is no different from ordinary girls. Even Xiao Longmo couldn't do it, let alone her. Li Jie hugged Lu Yufei tenderly for a while. Lu Yufei obviously talked more, chattering to him about trivial things, a bit talkative, and would laugh when she mentioned something interesting. Li Jie felt that she was a bit funny and naive, completely different from her appearance on the screen. For example, her hair was a little messy because of the pressure, so she asked him if he looked like Mei Chaofeng. As he spoke, he made some gestures. Then she laughed. But he couldn't get the laugh at all, so he could only smile cooperatively. Emotions can indeed be cultivated. Li Jie couldn't say he liked Lu Yufei very much before, but after getting along with her, he really liked her a little bit, especially after her true character was revealed. He just likes girls who are cute, funny, and a little naive. Besides, she is not only Lu Yufei, but also Xiao Longnu, Wang Yuyan, Zhao Linger, Bai Xiaozhu, and many other characters. Who doesn't like being a man? It would be nice to have such a girlfriend, right? But when he thought of Xiao Qiao, Zhou Ziyu, and the others, he immediately gave up the idea. Li Jie looked at the time and found that it was already past 8 o'clock, so he said to Lu Yufei, "Qinzi, it's getting late. I have to go to the company. I will come back to accompany you in the evening." Originally, he wanted to say that he would see you again in 2 days. But running away as soon as he pushed someone seemed a bit too scumbag. It's better to stay with her for 2 more days. However, he could still cover it up if he stayed out all night. If he stayed out for several days in a row, Xiao Qiao and Zhou Ziyu would definitely become suspicious. What a headache. Lu Yufei glanced at him and said, "Brother Jie, can I visit your company?" Of course Li Jie agreed without hesitation. "I have something to do and I can't leave, but I will let Xiaojing accompany you and Auntie around the company." The two stood up and started to get dressed. Li Jie glanced at the white costumes scattered everywhere, and then his eyes fell on the still clean bed. Experience cannot be judged simply by the presence or absence of injuries. After all, Lu Yufei has practiced dancing since she was a child and has filmed many fighting scenes with difficult movements. Injuries are commonplace. She acted like she had little experience last night, but she is an actor. Who knows if her acting skills are extraordinary? Didn't Zhang Wuji Humming say that the more beautiful a woman is, the more likely she is to lie to others? Besides, she's already 22, so it's unlikely she's ever had a boyfriend. Forget it, he doesn't want to marry anyone, so he shouldn't be picky about others. Li Jie and Lu Yufei left the bedroom together, went downstairs to the living room, and saw that Liu's mother had already made breakfast and was waiting for them. "Qian Qian, Xiao Jie, come over and eat quickly," Mother Lu greeted them with a smile. She seemed completely unaware that Li Jie stayed overnight in Lu Yufei's room. After finishing the meal, Li Jie took Lu Yufei and Liu's mother to the company by car. At night, the girls' dormitory of the normal university. Wang Ji condensed the textbook and notebook, took a breath, and opened the notebook. Last night, she checked a lot of information about Kudong Group, but there was not much information about Li Jie. There was only some interview information, and the information on Baidu Encyclopedia was also very simple. There is only his age, place of birth, school he attended, and a brief entrepreneurial experience, not even his height or birthday. Wang Zhaining read all Li Jie's interview materials. After reading it, she felt more and more that he was amazing. Such a man, even if he was a little more carefree, was not incomprehensible. As soon as Wang Zhaining opened the navigation page, she saw an entertainment headline: Liu Yufei will join Kudong Group for a massive 33 million yuan purchase. She was shocked and quickly clicked on the news. After reading the news content carefully, Wang Zhaining couldn't help but feel pressure in her heart. Kudong Group will invest 100 million to help Liu Yufei establish a personal studio. Kudong Group will hold 67% of the shares and Liu Yufei will hold 33% of the shares. After the studio was established, the first project was to create a Hollywood-level production tailored for Liu Yufei. No wonder Li Jie hit her without hesitation. It turned out that he had already signed Liu Yufei. With Liu Yufei, her role is dispensable. After all, her appearance and temperament are so similar to Liu Yufei's, and their paths are highly overlapping. What made Wang Zhaining feel even more stressed was that she had a vague feeling that the relationship between Li Jie and Liu Yufei was not simple. She is no longer as naive as before, and does not believe that Li Jie would treat Liu Yufei so well and give her 33 million shares for nothing. It's very possible that this is really money for selling one's body. But what can Liu Yufei do? Who loses and wins can only be known after fighting. Wang Zhaining gritted her teeth and her eyes fell on a line of words on the news. At 9 a.m. on January 1, a signing ceremony was held at the Hilton Hotel. I really didn't want to be a warm man when I was reborn. Author, Li Yuanjie. Chapter 413. After the news that Liu Yufei was going to join Kudong Group spread online, it surprised the industry. At that time, many companies wanted to sign Liu Yufei, Tang Ren, and Hua Shi, but no one succeeded. Now finally a company has signed her. 33 million buy-in is indeed too big a deal. The news quickly became a hot search topic, and various media outlets, large and small, forwarded the news. Many people are discussing this matter on Weibo, Douban, Taiba, and major forums. It is difficult for people who have not experienced this period to understand how influential Liu Yufei was at that time. Her peak period was far beyond what Mimi, Liu Cixi, and Zhao Xiaodao could compare with. What's more important is that during the few years she was famous, she was so successful that there were basically no other flowers to distract her. At that time, many people thought that she might surpass the international level. Who would have thought that she would be so confused? As a result, Kudong Group suddenly entered the field of vision of many people. Many people are curious about what kind of company can bring Liu Yufei down. After all, this is something that even Fahrenheit failed to do back then. After doing some research, I found out that this is a great company. Its subsidiary Funwan Technology has developed a series of popular games such as Dandan Tang, Shenxian Dao, and Qwen Farm. Ion and League of Legends are also represented by this company. Another subsidiary of this company, Cuckoo Entertainment, has invested in many popular film and television dramas such as Old Boy, Puberty, and The Heirs. It is the first-class entertainment company in the country, second only to Fahrenheit and Glossy. In addition, the mobile game Angry Birds, which is currently very popular and popular abroad, is also produced by this company. Liu Yufei finally thought about it and joined a big company. Her fans were even more happy and told each other. They always felt that the grassroots company had delayed her development. At the time when it was popular, there were no new works for a year or two. In the evening, Li Jie returned to Ziwan Villa in a Bentley Arnage RL, accompanied by makeup artist KXIN. Tonight, He plans to play opposite Liu Yufei again. This time it's dragon. After all, her favorite role was Wang Yuyan. However, Li Jie doesn't intend to play Duan Yu. What's the point of playing Duan Yu who wets his pants? The character he wants to play is Mirongfu, who is the most touching cousin. Speaking of Jin Yang's cousin, why did he end up miserable? Because Jin Yang dislikes his cousin very much. His cousin's name is Suzuhimo. After getting off the car and walking into the villa, Li Jie found two sizable turtles crawling on the floor in the living room. It's a light yellow tortoise, about the size of an adult's hand. Xiao Jie, you're back, Mother Lu walked out of the kitchen wearing an apron. The rice is almost done, it will be ready to eat soon. Liu Yufei also came down from upstairs, Brother Jie. Where did the turtle come from? Li Jie glanced at the turtle on the ground. I bought it, Liu Yufei said with a smile. I saw someone selling turtles at a traffic light intersection. I was afraid that they would be stewed in soup, so I bought them to be released. The seller said they were a pair, so I bought two. Brother Jie, if you can raise one, how should you raise it? I have never raised a turtle. Li Jie listened and smiled in his heart. He found that she was quite caring and liked to raise some small animals, such as cats and dogs, and now she brought back two turtles. Are you afraid it will be stewed? This stuff is what the soup is made of. Sissy, how much did you spend on these two turtles? The two cost a total of 300 yuan. After a pause, Liu Yufei added, I don't think 300 yuan is expensive for such a big turtle. Isn't 300 yuan expensive? Her head is also really big. This kind of ordinary artificially bred tortoise only costs 50 or 60 yuan at most. This little dragon girl is obviously a little ignorant of the sufferings of the world. Just like the roles she plays, she can play fairies and heroines very well, but when it comes to ordinary people, she can't relate to them and is not down to earth. Li Jie smiled and joked, Qian, why don't we raise them or release them? Let's make soup. These two turtles of yours are quite big, they almost weigh a pound. After hearing this, Liu Yufei looked at him with a look like, how could you do this? Li Jie smiled at her and said, okay, I'm kidding you. After dinner, Li Jie asked Kxian to put makeup on Liu Yufei and change her costume. After more than an hour, the makeup was completed and Kxian and Ruanjing were sent away. Li Jie looked at the charming Wang Yuyan, who was dressed in pink ancient clothes, with flowing hair, delicate and refined, and was a little surprised. I have to say that makeup and hairstyle have a huge impact on a person. She now has completely different temperaments from Xiao Longnu. One is a fairy who does not eat the fireworks of the world, and the other is a flower of wealth in the world. Cousin, why are you always staring at me? Liu Yufei raised her head slightly, glanced at him shyly, and then lowered her head, her eyes moving and looking forward. This feels so right. It is simply a wonderful restoration of the scenes in the play. Her charm is definitely not inferior to Zhou Ziu's. Li Jie also sat down by the bed, reached out and took her hand, and said seriously, cousin, you are enough. I will no longer be a country. Wang Yuyan heard this, her beautiful face showed incredible joy. Cousin, are you serious? You won't lie to me. Who said her acting skills were poor? Her acting skills at this moment were amazing. Li Jie nodded, really, so don't talk to that guy Duan Yu anymore. Wang Yuyan nodded obediently, don't worry, cousin, I only have you in my heart. Li Jie looked at her, his heart burning, cousin, it's getting late, let's take a rest early. After saying that, he kissed her and pushed her on the bed. This could be considered as a way for him to regain his place for Mirongfu. To guard a beautiful cousin who was devoted to him but not even touch her, there was definitely something wrong with Mirongfu's brain. Beauty is not as important as the restoration of the country. While Li Jie and Liu Yufei were engaged in the scene, the four of them, Xiao Qiao, Zhou Ziu, Lu Kaiyu, and Shenzhenyi of Sandalwood Villa, were not alone in the empty room. Zhou exercised for more than half an hour in the basement gym and sweated a little. When she went upstairs and returned to the living room, she found Xiaoqiao, Lu Kaiyu, and Shenzhenyi sitting together, talking about something. After taking a look at them, Zhou was ready to go to the bathroom to take a shower. "Joe Fox, come here," Xiaoqiao said. Zhou, however, acted as if he didn't hear anything and kept walking. "Zhou, come here," Xiaoqiao gritted her teeth and changed her tune. Only then did Zhou stop. "What, are you in trouble?" Shenzhenyi said, "Ziu, come over and sit down." Among the four of them, Shenzhenyi is the most popular, and his relationship with the other three is pretty good. The main thing is that she looks harmless and non-threatening to humans and animals. Zhou walked to the sofa and sat down opposite Xiaoqiao. "What are you guys saying?" Xiaoqiao glanced at her and said, "Don't you think something has been wrong with Li Jie these past 2 days?" Lu Kaiyu said, "The company suddenly announced today that it will sign Lu Yufei." Shenzhenyi said, "We think he should be with Lu Yufei." Zhou didn't feel any weird after hearing this. What about that? She had already guessed what they were talking about. "So what?" Xiaoqiao was a little out of breath. "That's Lu Yufei." Shenzhenyi also said, "Yes, that's Lu Yufei." They all grew up watching Lu Yufei's dramas and knew how influential the other party was. That was Zhao Ling'er, the little dragon girl, the fairy sister. It can be said that she is Bai Yueguang in the hearts of countless boys. After realizing that Li Jie had hooked up with Lu Yufei, they all felt even more pressure. After all, they are all ordinary girls. How can they compare to a big star like Lu Yufei? "Joe Fox, don't you think we have to do something?" Xiaoqiao remembered that on May Day last year, she asked Li Jie if he had a chance to meet Lu Yufei. Who would have thought that just over a year later, he would be able to hook up with Lu Yufei? Zhou smiled and looked at Xiaoqiao. "Then what are you going to do?" "We haven't figured it out yet." Xiaoqiao emphasized her tone, "But in short, we can't let that Lu Yufei succeed." Zhou said slowly, "I have an idea." Shenzhenyi quickly asked, "Ziu, what can I do?" Zhou said, "How about the four of us accompany him together?" Xiaoqiao said dissatisfiedly, "What are you doing? It's not enough to give him welfare." "Then what can you do?" "We must show our attitude and let him choose between the four of us and Lu Yufei." Zhou heard this, but didn't know whether it was okay or not. She didn't feel threatened by Lu Yufei like Xiaoqiao and others. Zhou knows Li Jie best and knows that he will never marry a female star, just for fun. It's normal for a man like Li Jie to be a little fickle and should be tolerated. In other words, Xiaoqiao and the others still take celebrities seriously. The four of them discussed it for a long time, but couldn't come up with a reason. The main reason is that they are not united at all. However, they still reached an agreement, that is, the four of them should boycott Lu Yufei, and squeeze Li Jie to prevent him from having the energy to hook up with others. More than a week has passed in the blink of an eye. These days, Li Jie spends half of his time with Lu Yufei. After all, men like novelty. Otherwise, there wouldn't be such CAO thieves. Of course Li Jie is no exception. After meeting Xiao Longnu and Wang Yuyan, he continued his efforts and accompanied Lu Yufei to recreate two of her other classic roles, Zhao Ling'er and Bai Xiaozu. Zhao Ling'er has the most classic bathing scene, while Bai Xiaozu has the drunken scene. After comparing the four characters, Li Jie still likes Wang Yuyan the most. So he and Lu Yufei had several scenes in Dragon. She even asked her to call him cousin. Dozens of costumes were specially made for her, including ones for each character. When the new costumes are ready, Li Jie is ready to challenge Yin's hyping again. No, it's the role of Zhen's hyping. He felt that he still didn't understand the role well enough and needed more practice. However, Li Jie was enjoying the scene, but Xiaoqiao and Zhou were dissatisfied. There wasn't enough time in the first place, and Li Jie was always going out to fool around. How could this be possible? One night, the four of them worked together to besiege him and would not stop until he was defeated. Li Jie was determined to fight to the death, and it was impossible for him to beg for mercy. I don't know who won or lost that night, but Li Jie was honest for 2 or 3 days after that. While working in the company during the day, looking at the beautiful female secretaries with all kinds of beautiful legs in black stockings, he didn't feel any fluctuation in his heart. When he returned to Ziwan Villa in the evening, he held Wang Yuyan in his arms and his heart was extremely pure. Even the fairy sister can't impress him. Li Jie felt that his mental state had improved immediately. By the way, Li Jie didn't return to Sandalwood Villa for the past 2 or 3 days. But he was definitely not afraid of the four of them. Absolutely not. New Year's Day, January 1, 2010. In a one-bedroom rental house near Normal University, Wang Zhining got up early in the morning. There were too many rumors in the school, so Wang Zhining moved out. Anyway, she was not short of money. She acted in several dramas. Although she was a newcomer and her salary was not high, she still saved 200,000 or 300,000. However, after she moved out, there was another rumor in the school. She said that she fell in love with the rich second generation again and moved out to live with the rich second generation. Some people also said that they saw her get out of a Lamborghini, and the driver was an ugly boy. It's said that he has a nose and eyes, and Wang Zhining almost thought that he was really close to the second generation of rich people. She has a deeper understanding of the ugliness of the human heart. Wang Zhining washed up first and then started putting on makeup. Her makeup skills are average. In the past, makeup artists would do her makeup for announcements. But now she can only do it by herself. After putting on her makeup, Wang Zhining picked out the clothes she thought were the best and put them on, then took her small handbag and went out. Take a taxi and go straight to the Hilton Hotel. After arriving at the hotel and getting out of the taxi, Wang Zhining put on sunglasses and a mask. She was afraid of meeting someone she knew. After all, artists from Cuckoo Entertainment will definitely be here today. The front of the hotel is very lively, and from time to time there are glamorous entertainers or reporters with guns and cannons, getting out of the car and walking into the hotel. Wang Zhining saw Xiaoying, who got out of the nanny car with a beautiful female artist who looked a bit like a young woman, delicate and glamorous. After the two entered the hotel, she followed them in. Walked into the hotel and came to the door of the venue where the signing ceremony was held. Wang Zhining discovered that there were 2 security guards in black suits guarding the door. After a female artist showed a red invitation, the security guard let her in. Obviously, to enter the venue, you must have an invitation, but she didn't have one. At this time, another female artist came over. When Wang Zhining saw the other party, her heart moved. It is the Xiaoqiang Yang function. She heard Zhang Jingxian reveal that the company had already poached Yang Function, and he would join the company when his contract with Rongxinda expired. Yang Function felt quite depressed. She was the one who originally connected with Li Jie, but before her contract with Rongxinda expired, Lu Yufei took the lead and joined Kudong Group first. If there was a regret medicine, she would never take Lu Yufei to see Li Jie. This Lu Qianqian doesn't seem to have any intentions, but I didn't expect to be so seductive. She wouldn't believe it to her death if Lu Yufei and Li Jie were not having an affair. Sister Function, hearing the cry, Yang Function turned around and saw a young girl wearing sunglasses and a mask, wrapped tightly. Even through sunglasses and a mask, you can tell that the other person looks good and must be an artist. Who are you? Wang Zhining took off her sunglasses and mask. Sister Function, I am Wang Zhining. It's you, Yang Function showed a look of surprise. She knew Wang Zhining, the newcomer that Cuckoo Entertainment highly praised, known as Lu Yufei's second. Yang Fengxian looked Wang Haining up and down and found that the other person's appearance was indeed extremely good, and he looked a little too similar to Lu Yufei. Almost like a lost sister. However, having someone who looks too much like your peers in the entertainment industry is not a good thing. After signing Lu Yufei, will the company still favor her as much as before? Thinking of this, she couldn't help but sympathize with the other party. Haining, what's wrong with you? Wang Haining put away her sunglasses and put on her mask again. It's okay. I just saw you, Sister Fengxian, and wanted to say hello. Haining, why do you always wear a mask? I have a cold. That's it? Sister Fengxian, I heard that you also want to join the company. You knew already. The two of them walked towards the entrance of the venue while talking. Yang Fengxian took out the invitation and showed it to the security guard. The security guard took one look at the invitation and let the two of them in without asking for it from Wang Haining. After entering the venue, Wang Haining breathed a sigh of relief. Fortunately, the management here was not too strict. After chatting with Yang Fengxian for a few more words, the two separated. There were many people in the venue, including artists and media reporters. The reception was a self-service mode, but no one ate. The artists held wine glasses and walked back and forth to greet each other. Wang Haining saw many familiar stars, such as Su Zhang, Wang Baoqiang, Deng Qiao, Sun Li, Su Chang, Zhang Yiyan, and so on. We even saw Zhi Zhang and Chen Long. Artists from Cuckoo Entertainment are also here, including Luan Xiaolin, Zhao Yuhuan, Nini, etc. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I really didn't want to be a warm man when I was reborn. Author, Li Yuanzhe. Chapter 414. Wang Haining did not move around like other artists, but found an inconspicuous position to sit down. She was the only one wearing a mask in the venue. It was so eye-catching that everyone would take a second look. Sitting opposite her was a young girl with a round face. She was concentrating on the food on the plate. When she saw Wang Haining sitting down, she glanced at her and then continued eating. I didn't eat anything in the morning and I'm a little hungry. Noticing that Wang Haining had been staring at her, the girl felt a little embarrassed and explained. How about you eat some too? Wang Haining shook her head lightly. No, just eat it. In fact, Wang Haining stared at the girl for no other reason than that she felt that the other girl's food was so delicious that it made her a little hungry. She didn't eat anything in the morning either. Which company do you work for? I work for Starlight Media, and my name is Zhao Xiaodao, the girl said vaguely while eating. I'm from Cuckoo Entertainment. Wang Haining paused, then continued, my name is Wang Haining. So you are from Kudong Group? Zhao Xiaodao sighed a little. Kudong Group sent invitation letters to all major entertainment companies in the industry, and Zhao Xiaodao's agency, Starlight Media, also received the invitation letters. Zhao Xiaodao came to Cuckoo Entertainment for an interview in October last year. Li Jie said in person that she wanted to sign him, but she refused without hesitation. Although her agent Hieryu didn't pay special attention to her, he still took good care of her. She had no plans to change jobs. After Zhao Xiaodao signed with Fahrenheit, he was famous for a few days, but was soon forgotten by the company and left to fend for himself. Fortunately, she met her manager Hieryu. Hieryu switched jobs to Starlight Media and took her with him. After learning that Zhao Xiaodao had actually turned down Li Jie's personal invitation to sign a contract, Hieryu was angry and anxious, and scolded her harshly. She didn't even know how to seize such a good opportunity. Hieryu didn't do well at Starlight Media, so it would be a good choice to switch to Cuckoo Entertainment with Zhao Xiaodao. Although Starlight Media relies on Beijing University and has a state-owned background, it is not a professional entertainment company after all. So Hiro gave Zhao Xiaodao an invitation letter and asked her to come over and try her luck to see if she could get connected with Cuckoo Entertainment again. It is impossible for Zhao Xiaodao to say that he has no regrets about rejecting Li Jie. Seeing the artists under Cuckoo Entertainment, such as Luan Xiaolin, Zhao Yuhuan, Nini, etc., all showing their prominence and becoming popular, how could Zhao Xiaodao not be envious? Even Wang Haining in front of me has starred in and participated in several movies. But she has been in the industry for 3 or 4 years, but she has never landed a leading role. She can only play some supporting roles such as maids, sisters, and daughters. Originally, Zhao Xiaodao would receive his first female lead role in 2009, Li Wei's third film as an official, The Big One, opposite Su Zheng. However, due to Li Jie's intervention, Su Zheng became the director in advance, and there was no shortage of filming, so naturally he would not take the role of the Big One. As a result, the preparations for the production of Big Insider were put on hold, and the first heroine in Zhao Xiaodao's life was lost. When the time reached almost 9 o'clock, the door of the venue opened. Lu Yufei, who was dressed brightly and charmingly in a light blue dress, took Li Jie's arm and walked into the venue together, followed by Zhang Jingxian and other senior executives of Cuckoo Entertainment. Lu Yufei and Li Jie arrived, and the signing ceremony officially began. The host is Lu Yan. Cuckoo Entertainment has a good relationship with Guangxian Media, and she is here to help. The host first introduced the guests and the organizer, then Li Jie, Zhang Jingxian and other company executives spoke, and Lu Yufei delivered a speech. The next step was to sign the contract. Under the guidance of the etiquette lady, Li Jie and Lu Yufei signed their names on the contract documents respectively. In fact, the contract has been signed a long time ago, and it was still signed on, now it's just a show. After signing, Li Jie shook hands with Lu Yufei and welcomed her joining. The guests in the audience applauded at the same time. The hostess served champagne on a tray, and the guests toasted to celebrate. Looking at the glamorous Lu Yufei on the stage with all the stars holding the moon, Wang Haining and Zhao Xiaodao sitting in the corner had complicated hearts. Why do some people have such a good life and are born to be the protagonist? The signing ceremony is completed, followed by questions from the media and a cocktail reception. The reporters focused all their questions on Li Jie and Lu Yufei, mainly asking about Lu Yufei. Facing various questions from reporters, Lu Yufei responded with ease. She has been in the industry for 7 or 8 years, and this kind of scene today can only be considered a small scene. When a reporter asked, what is the big production that Kudong Group has tailor-made for Lu Yufei? Li Jie said that it is a science fiction movie with a mecha theme, and the investment is expected to be more than 100 million. He was actually talking about Pacific Rim. This movie is a bit of a trap. Although it is a Hollywood blockbuster, it is a bit unacclimated in North America. On the contrary, it became a hit in China, and its box office exceeded that of North America. Later, the second Thunder Uprising was released specifically to deal with the domestic market. It can only be said that North America is not very interested in mecha culture. On the contrary, mecha culture is more popular in East Asia, especially in island countries. Li Jie has no plans to invest in Pacific Rim himself, let alone have Lu Yufei star in it. This is just a gimmick thrown out. Recently, Wanda approached Cuckoo Entertainment and asked Cuckoo Entertainment to help support De Tian Tian. This Pacific Rim is prepared for De Tian Tian. Today, Transformers 2 has a box office of 430 million, and next year Transformers 3 will have a box office of more than 1 billion. The robot theme is hot, and there will definitely be no shortage of people to pay for Pacific Rim. Besides, as long as the shooting costs are reduced, the film is unlikely to lose money. The domestic and island markets alone are enough to recover the capital, and he is not trying to cheat Wanda. As for whether De Tian Tian is popular or not, you can't blame him. She was cold and could not turn red easily. Now even if I give her Si-10, she won't be able to film it. In fact, Li Jie admires De Tian very much. When she was young, De Tian's appearance was just as good as Lu Yufi's, and her skin was even better. She was a photo killer, and this girl also had a good personality. But the family already has a sponsor, so it's not his turn to take care of it. After reporters freely asked questions, the next step was the cocktail party. Li Jie, who was holding Lu Yufi's arm, was surrounded by people like stars holding the moon, and there was an endless stream of people coming to say hello. Fahrenheit's Wang Er, the glamorous Li Xiaoping, Xiaoma's Zhong Lifeng, Chen Long, International Zhang and so on. Wang Er smiled and reminisced with Lu Yufi, as if there had never been any conflict between the two parties. After Lu Yufi fell in love with Li Jie, Fahrenheit's ban became empty words, and it was better to reconcile. Li Jie chatted with Zhong Lifeng for a while. He was very optimistic about Zhong Lifeng's ability and wanted to recruit her to Cuckoo Entertainment. However, the time is not right now. Zhong Lifeng was promoted by Boss Pony and will not change jobs easily. After dealing with the main guests, Li Jie and Lu Yufi separated. Lu Yufi was surrounded by a group of classmates and friends such as Su Chang, Zhang Yiyan, Yang Fengxian, and so on. Everyone is happy to add icing on the cake. Lu Yufi had been silent for a year or two, but now she has joined a big company and her future development will be even higher. As for Li Jie, there was even a group of celebrities chatting with him. Most of them are female artists. There are too many starlets who want to take shortcuts. As long as he can get close to Li Jie, there will be no shortage of resources. Wang Haining and Zhao Xiaodao also wanted to come over and say hello to Li Jie, but found that they couldn't squeeze in at all. Li Jie chatted with them one after another. He is extremely picky now, and he doesn't like these little stars at all. If he wants to attract his attention, he has to be on the level of Lu Yufi and De Tian. Besides, if you strip away the halo, ordinary female celebrities are really not as good as the beautiful girls in school. After looking at the time on his watch, Li Jie said sorry to them and left. In order to attend today's signing ceremony, he also specially wore a watch. Seeing Li Jie leaving like this, the faces of these female artists all showed disappointment. After leaving the venue, Li Jie came to the bathroom. As soon as he unbuttoned his pants, he heard footsteps and a young girl wearing a mask walked in. The other party is tall and fair-skinned, with cascading hair hanging behind his back. He is wearing an off-white color block jacket and a pair of jeans. His legs are long and slender, with excellent curves. Even through the mask, you can see come out, this is a very beautiful girl. Seeing a girl barging into the men's bathroom, Li Jie was shocked and quickly pulled up his pants again. "Miss, you are in the wrong place. This is the men's room." The girl reached out and took off her mask, revealing an innocent and beautiful face that was a bit sexy and playful. "Mr. Li, it's me. Wang Haining." After seeing the other party's appearance clearly, Li Jie was surprised and surprised. Why did she come and follow him to the bathroom? "How did you come?" "Mr. Li, can I talk to you again?" Wang Haining bit her lip, her voice weak and pleading. "The matter has come to this, there is nothing to talk about. It's time for you to study and fall in love. It's not a bad thing to quit the entertainment industry and become an ordinary person." Li Jie could tell Wang Haining's thoughts at a glance, which was that he regretted it after being hidden in the snow, and came to him to apologize and ask for forgiveness. But she has caused such a big loss to the company, let alone apologizing, crying, and begging, it is useless even if she sacrifices herself. He hid his words, turned around and easily spared her. Wasn't that a slap in the face? Besides, she is really not suitable for the entertainment industry because she is so love-minded. Okay, get out quickly. This is the men's bathroom, not a place where you, a girl, should go. That is to say, she is a girl. If a man accidentally breaks into the women's bathroom, he will definitely be regarded as a pervert or a gangster. When a woman acts mean to a man, it is called taking initiative, and when a man acts mean to a woman, it is sexual harassment. Seeing that Li Jie didn't even give her a chance to apologize, Wang Xining became anxious. Opportunities like today are extremely rare. If you leave like this, it will be difficult to get another chance in the future. She stepped forward and hugged him fiercely. Wang Xining, what are you doing? Li Jie frowned and struggled to free himself. What would others think if they saw this scene? Let go. I won't let go. Wang Xining hugged her tighter. Mr. Li, just give me a chance. Her eyes were red and she said almost begging. What, are you threatening me? Li Jie's voice was a little cold. This Wang Xining is still making trouble unreasonably. Mr. Li, I'm not threatening, I'm begging you, please give me a chance. I was wrong, I was really wrong. As Wang Xining spoke, tears flowed down uncontrollably. The tears slid down her fair cheeks. Her tearful eyes looked extremely aggrieved and pitiful, which was extremely endearing. You're right. I'm really blind. I fell in love with such a scum. I deserve to be in this situation. I failed the company's training. I'm sorry for Mr. Zhang, and I'm even more sorry for you, Mr. Li. For a while, Wang Xining had accumulated too many grievances in her heart, but she couldn't tell anyone. She had to pretend to be strong, not wanting those who slandered her to laugh at them. Now in front of Li Jie, she seemed to have found support and wanted to pour out all her grievances. Seeing her like this, Li Jie couldn't help but feel soft in his heart, but soon he hardened his heart again. You should never forgive a girl like Wang Xining easily. Okay, don't cry now. If others see it, they think I'm bullying you. Also, let go first, he said, trying to break away from her again. I won't let go. Wang Xining's aggrieved expression revealed her stubbornness, and her little appearance looked particularly cute. She hugged him tightly and wouldn't let go. Even though Wang Xining is a girl, she is 1.7 centimeters tall, a little taller than Lu Yufei, and her strength is not too small. Li Jie couldn't resist being cruel. She hugged her tightly and it was really difficult to break free. For a while, the two were in a stalemate. At this moment, voices and footsteps were heard outside. Someone came to the bathroom, and I heard that the voices were from two people. Wang Xining's expression suddenly became panicked. She looked around and pulled Li Jie to hide in a squat room near the back. Li Jie followed her and hid in before reacting. It's not right. This is the men's bathroom, why is he following her to hide? Li Jie wanted to open the door and go out, but Wang Xining held his arm and refused to let go, looking at him pitifully and begging with red eyes. He couldn't help but feel weak again. At this time, people outside had already come in. It's over, he can't go out now. If someone saw him hiding in a squat with a very beautiful girl, they would definitely think that the two of them were doing something ulterior. After the two people outside came in, they were laughing and chatting while putting water on the table. After listening to a few sentences, Li Jie discovered that these two people were also artists attending the signing ceremony. The two of them mentioned Lu Yufei while chatting, and one of them lowered his voice and said, looking at Lu Yufei's behavior, she is probably having an affair with the boss of Kudong Group. The two of them smiled and said, isn't 33 million just money for selling one's body? After draining the water, the two washed their hands and went out. Li Jie glanced at Wang Xining and said, let's get out quickly. However, before he could finish speaking, Wang Xining suddenly threw herself into his arms, raised her head and kissed him. Being tall still has advantages. For example, you don't need to tiptoe to give a kiss. Li Jie was stunned for a moment, and it took him a few seconds to react, and pushed her away. What are you doing? This Wang Xining seems to have little experience in kissing scenes. An idea came to his mind for no reason. Wang's Haining bit her lip, her pretty face was slightly red, she was very charming, and her beautiful red eyes revealed affection. Why do you feel like this? Wang's Haining likes him a little bit. However, Li Jie threw this idea out of his mind. Stop being narcissistic. Not long ago, the other party did not hesitate to contradict the company for a man. Even if they fall in love with each other, it won't be so fast. You don't think that just by dedicating yourself, you can solve the problem, do you? You really think of me as... Speaking of this, Li Jie did not continue, sneered and said, did you know that because you filmed 1/3 of the ugly girl's makeover, you had to change the role and reshoot it, only this one Siang company lost 2 to 3 million. You don't think your body is worth 2 to 3 million, do you? Think too much, you are not worth the price. After hearing this, Wang's Haining's eyes turned redder, and she looked like she was about to cry again, looking at him aggrievedly and stubbornly. Her stubborn little look is cute and lovable. But Li Jie didn't like her arrogance, and she couldn't let go of her figure when she came to ask for help. He smiled playfully, didn't you ask me to give you a chance? Okay, then I will give you a chance, as long as you... I really didn't want to be a warm man when I was reborn. Author, Li Yuanjie. Chapter 415. After hearing Li Jie's request, Wang's Haining showed surprise on her face and looked at him in disbelief. She didn't expect him to say such a thing. What, you don't want to? Li Jie sneered. Aren't you ready to sacrifice yourself, and are you unwilling to do this? After saying that, he shook her hand hard and prepared to leave. Wait a minute, Wang's Haining suddenly shouted. Li Jie turned around and saw tears of humiliation filling her stubborn eyes, and she slowly knelt down. His little appearance is indescribably adorable. The moment she knelt on the ground, her tears flowed down uncontrollably. Li Jie was also stunned. He didn't expect that she would really agree. Wang's Haining choked with sobs, as if a jar had been broken, and she stretched out her hand and began to unbutton his clothes randomly. Okay, forget it, get up. Li Jie came to his senses and pushed her hand away. He still has a bottom line as a human being, and it doesn't matter if you like me or not, that's just fun. If he uses his power to force and insult a girl like this, then he is really a scumbag. Besides, even if Wang's Haining fulfilled his request, he would not be able to let her come back. He just made things difficult for her and asked her to back out, but he didn't expect that she would actually come forward. No, I can't forget it, I owe you anyway. Li Jie wanted to stop, but Wang's Haining stopped. She wanted to take off his clothes like crazy. Calm down, don't do this. Li Jie had no choice but to hug her and tie her tightly in his arms. Does she owe him? Why does he feel like he owes her? Wang's Haining desperately tried to break free. Let me go. Just as the two were entangled, voices and footsteps came from outside again. There were 3 or 4 people in the sound. There's someone here again, please stop shouting, Li Jie warned in a low voice. Now that the two of them were hugging each other, if anyone saw them, they would think they were doing something ulterior. I'll just scream, Wang's Haining said stubbornly. Here comes someone. Well. Hearing the footsteps approaching the door, Li Jie became anxious and blocked her mouth with his mouth. Wang's Haining opened her eyes wide and looked at him blankly. When people outside pushed the door and walked into the bathroom, 2 people released water and 1 person squatted down. What a coincidence, the squatting space that the man chose was right next to the 2 of them. Hearing the other party unbuttoning his pants, Li Jie thought of something, picked up Wang's Haining and made her sit on the toilet. She was wearing high heels, which would be too revealing to be noticed by people in the cubicle. This time Wang's Haining stopped struggling and let him do what he did, with red eyes and a delicate smile on her face. After hearing Li Jie's request, Wang's Haining suddenly felt despair in her heart. She regarded him as her only support. Who would have thought that he would treat her like this? Wang Haining only wanted to fulfill Li Zhe's request as compensation, and then left. If she could only get back everything she had lost by being treated as a plaything, wantonly humiliated, played with in a cheap way, and give up all her dignity, and she could take revenge on those who had bullied her, then she would rather give up nothing than take revenge. Fortunately, it turned out that she was not mistaken this time, and Li Zhe was just scaring her. She said he was a good man and would not really insult or belittle her. It's worth it to be his lover. If Xiaoqiao, Zhou Ziyu, and others knew what Wang Haining was thinking, they would definitely say to her, haha. They were all punished to kneel down until they vomited. Li Zhe looked at Wang Haining's expression and realized that he had been deceived by her. She just looked like she was pulling off his clothes like crazy, but in fact she was just pulling randomly, not really taking off his clothes. Also, she tried to shout just now, but she lowered her voice. She is very clever with her little tricks. Wang Haining pointed to her face, and then mouthed, "Kiss me, or I'll shout." Li Zhe felt funny in his heart. This Wang Haining was still doing this with him. He, a grown man, would still be afraid of her. If he didn't teach her a lesson, she would really think that he was easy to bully. With this in mind, Li Zhe lowered his head and kissed her roughly, doing whatever he wanted. She and Lu Yufei looked like sisters, and there was no telling how different their bodies were. In line with the exploration of natural science, he began to study it seriously. It seems the difference is not small. Suddenly Li Zhe frowned and let go of Wang Haining. A foul smell filled the air from the cubicle next to it. This ruins the atmosphere too much. Wang Haining also blocked her nose in disgust. Let's go out quickly, Li Zhe mouthed. The two men who released the water outside have already left. If you don't take the opportunity to leave quickly, why don't you continue to smell it? Wang Haining listened and nodded lightly. Li Zhe opened the door to the squat room, picked her up and walked out. He is big and heavy. This Wang Haining is really not light to hold. When he came outside, he put her down, took her hand, and walked quickly out of the bathroom. However, as soon as the two of them walked out of the men's bathroom, they saw Yang Fengxian opening the bathroom door and walking in. Seeing Li Zhe holding Wang Haining's hand standing at the door of the men's bathroom, it was obvious that the two of them had just come out of it. Yang Fengxian was stunned for a moment, with an extremely shocked and wonderful expression. Li Zhe didn't expect to come out, but he was still bumped into, including Yang Fengxian. Don't. Mr. Li, don't worry, I didn't see anything, and I will never say anything nonsense, Yang Fengxian said first. Don't talk nonsense. He didn't do anything well. This Yang Fengxian is obviously a misunderstanding. Li Zhe glanced at Wang Haining and realized that he had been tricked by her. If something happened to him, she would just forget it. But he obviously didn't do anything, but he took the blame for nothing. This Yang Fengxian was not sure what he would think. Probably I thought he had some special hobbies and liked to be in the bathroom. Yang Fengxian glanced at Li Zhe and said carefully, Mr. Li, I'm going to the bathroom first. After saying that, she quickly walked into the women's bathroom. Li Zhe looked away and said to Wang Haining angrily, let's go too. Entering the bathroom, Yang Fengxian breathed a sigh of relief. She really didn't expect that Li Zhe, who looked quite serious on the surface, could be so good at playing and dare to act randomly in a public restroom. From the look on Wang Haining's face, it was obvious that she had been crying, so the two of them must have played well. Thinking about it, I am innocent enough, and I sympathized with others before. Lu Yufei is not simple, and this Wang Haining is not good at all. She looks quite innocent on the surface, but I didn't expect to be so open-minded. In order to compete for favor, you will do this kind of thing. This big Mimi thinks a little too much. In her opinion, Wang Haining dragged Li Zhe into the bathroom to mess around during Lu Yufei's signing ceremony, which was obviously a competition with him. Yang Fengxian then thought of another question. Should she also express her attitude? Liu Yufei and Wang Haining both have close relationships with Li Jie. It is possible that Li Jie likes to use this method to build relationships with his artists. If she doesn't show it, won't she be treated as one of her own? Moreover, she also encountered the other party's privacy, so she needed a certificate of surrender. In fact, Yang Fengxian didn't mind having sex with Li Jie. After all, he was young, good-looking, and a billionaire. The problem was that she already had a boyfriend. Is it bad to cheat on your boyfriend? Li Jie did not return to the venue. After sending a message to Liu Yufei, he left with Wang Haining. After taking the elevator down to the lobby on the first floor of the hotel, Li Jie said to Wang Haining, "Wait here for a while." After saying that, he turned around and left. "Why are you going?" Wang Haining grabbed his arm and refused to let him go. Li Jie sighed lightly, "I'm going to the bathroom." "Why, you still want to go with me?" After she made such a fuss, he even forgot about letting go. "Okay, I'll go with you." Seeing Li Jie's expression of "here you go again," Wang Haining quickly explained, "I'll wait for you outside the bathroom." Li Jie shook his head, "Whatever you want." This Wang Haining is still clinging to him. After saying that, he ignored her and went to the bathroom. A few minutes later, Li Jie came out of the bathroom and saw Wang Haining standing outside, biting her lip and kicking her legs in boredom. She looked very strange. This girl is impeccable in terms of appearance, figure, and temperament. The expression is also particularly smart and cute, and every smile touches people's hearts. In this regard, neither Liu Yufei nor Zhou Ziyu can compare with her. But the only one who can compare is Xiao Qiao. But she is too in love, and now she has become very girly and clingy. Li Jie vaguely understood that this Wang Haining must have been stimulated by something and lost her sense of security, and for some reason she put all her emotional sustenance on him. This is not liking, just seeking protection and dependence. Just like some young girls like uncles, they also like to be cared for and taken care of by mature men who spoil their little tempers. For ordinary boys, it would be a special pleasure to be clung to by such a beautiful girl who is both innocent, sexy, and playful. But he couldn't bear it anymore. How could he always be with a girl? The two walked out of the Hilton Hotel together. At the hotel entrance, Zhou Chao had already driven the Bentley Arnage RL and was waiting. Seeing Li Jie coming out, he immediately opened the backseat door. After getting into the car, Li Jie glanced at Wang Haining, who was sitting next to him, and told Zhou Chao, "Go to Normal University." When Wang Haining heard this, she reacted and asked, "You want to send me back?" Li Jie nodded, "Yes, I'll take you back." He really didn't want to mess with a love-minded girl like her. Even if she completely falls in line with his aesthetic point of view. "I won't go back," Wang Haining objected immediately. "Then where do you want to go?" Li Jie asked. "I will go wherever you go." Wang Haining stared at him and said. She really got stuck on him. "I'd better take you back to school." Li Jie avoided her gaze. Wang Haining just stared at him, her pretty face full of stubbornness, but Li Jie was indifferent. After a while, Wang Haining looked away as if she had given up, and said in a complicated tone, "I moved out of school." Li Jie heard something and asked, "Why did you move out?" Wang Haining remained silent and did not speak. When Li Jie saw this, he stopped asking. 6 minutes later, the car arrived near the Normal University. Under the guidance of Wang Haining, it drove into an old neighborhood and stopped in front of a building. "Okay, we're here," Li Jie said to Wang Haining. "Then I'm leaving." Wang Haining looked at him reluctantly. "Let's go." Li Jie nodded. Wang Haining bit her lip, turned around, held the door handle, and was about to push the door open and get out of the car. At this moment, Li Jie suddenly felt a little reluctant to give up for some reason. But at the next moment, Wang Haining came back, threw herself into his arms, and started kissing him randomly. "Hey, what are you doing? This female gangster." Li Jie resisted and wanted to get rid of her entanglement, but Wang's Haining was holding onto him like crazy, and it would be difficult to get rid of him for a while unless he was ruthless. Zhou Chao, who was sitting in the driver's seat, saw the two entangled together through the rearview mirror, with a strange look on his face. He started the car again, drove away from the residential building, found a parking space nearby and stopped. "Mr. Li, I'm going to smoke a cigarette," Zhou Chao said, opening the door and getting out of the car. "Zhou Chao, come here and help me pull her away," Li Jie said. Originally, he was about to restrain Wang's Haining, but she had no martial ethics at all. Not only did she take advantage of him by having an affair, but she also moved around to seduce him. As soon as he was distracted, she was pinned down by her again. Facing Li Jie's instructions, Zhou Chao, who originally obeyed him, opened the car door and left as if he hadn't heard what he said. This bodyguard was hired for nothing, but he watched him being attacked and ignored him. Li Jie suddenly realized that it was not good for the bodyguard to be too discerning. This Zhou Chao is obviously thinking too much. He really asked the other party to come and help, not just pretending. When he came to a tree 20 or 30 meters away from the car, Zhou Chao took out a cigarette and lit it. While smoking, he helped Li Jie relax. He is truly envious of his boss. Not only are the girls he plays with extremely beautiful, many of them are very proactive. In his opinion, Wang's Haining was already a goddess-like existence, but in front of his boss, she ignored her restraint and pressed forward desperately. He even took the initiative to push back, which was really eye-opening for him. It's good to have money. In the car, Li Jie and Wang's Haining struggled for a while longer, feeling increasingly angry. If it had been before, he would have lost control and pushed Wang's Haining away. Which man can resist this temptation? But having seen more beautiful girls, Li Jie's immunity to beauties has obviously become stronger. Especially in the past 2 days, he was besieged by Xiaoqiao, Zhou Ziyu, Lu Kaiyu, and Shen Xinyi. Well, that's the main reason. "Li Jie, you are still not a man, I have taken the initiative, what are you still afraid of?" Seeing Li Jie's refusal, Wang's Haining became a little anxious. She had gone to this point and he still refused to obey. Was she so unattractive to him? She felt aggrieved and unconvinced. "Wang's Haining, I told you that even if something happens to us, I won't be able to change my mind." Li Jie looked at her and said. "I don't care about this. I don't want to come back. I don't want anything." Wang's Haining's pretty face was full of stubbornness. "Just tell me if you want me." Before coming to Li Jie, she wanted to get back what she had lost and take revenge on those who had bullied her. But now she just wants to take down Li Jie. The more he resists, the more she wants to take him down. As long as she has him, it's enough, and it doesn't matter if she doesn't want anything else. What are you going to do without dedicating yourself to anything? Posted backwards? Li Jie's first reaction was that he didn't believe it, but looking at her red-rimmed eyes and extremely stubborn look, he suddenly started to believe it again. A love-minded girl like her could really do cheating. "I have a girlfriend and many lovers. I know all this and I don't care. Even if you follow me, you can only be my lover. I don't care either. We are not suitable for each other. Whatever doesn't fit, I think it fits." Li Jie looked at Wang's Haining and felt a headache. Why is this girl so stubborn? He looked her up and down and said word by word, "I don't like things that have been used by others." After hearing this, Wang's Haining bit her lip and said seriously, "This is my first time and I haven't been touched by anyone." She paused and said, "Today was my first kiss." Li Jie listened and smiled, "So, I still took advantage of it today." Seeing that he didn't believe it, Wang's Haining couldn't help but become anxious. "What I said is true. I have never even been in a serious relationship. Have you forgotten why you were hidden? Li Jie didn't believe it even more. Li Jie, I really didn't lie to you. The other person and I haven't officially been together yet. If I were to really fall in love, I would never hide it from you, Mr. Zhang, or the company. Wang Haining had tears in her eyes and was stubborn. Revealing grievance. If you don't believe it, you can verify it yourself. As she said that, she grabbed his big hand and stretched it into her clothes. I really didn't want to be a warm man when I was reborn. Author, Li Yuanjie. Chapter 416. Li Jie suddenly pulled his hand back from hers. Okay, I believe you. You don't believe it. Wang Haining stubbornly grabbed his hand again and stretched it into her clothes. Li Jie once again shook off her hand, sighed and said, don't be like this, I really believe it. A pure and beautiful girl takes the initiative to ask you to verify whether it is her first time. I am afraid no man can refuse such a good thing. But Li Jie refused, looking a bit unmanly. But again, he really didn't want to mess with a love-minded girl like Wang Haining. There is no shortage of beauties around him, so why should he get into big trouble just for a physical impulse? It has to be said that men in the sage's time are extraordinarily rational. In particular, Li Jie felt that what Wang Haining said might be true. She was probably really inexperienced, so she couldn't be provoked. For a girl like Wang Haining, once she loses her virginity to someone, she will put all her thoughts on the other person and fight to the death. One Lu Yufei has already made the harem unstable. If Wang Haining comes again, then he will really make the harem never peaceful. He is not the kind of scumbag who can just play with girls and dump them without any burden. Wang Haining's eyes were red and she tried her best to control the tears in her eyes. She had taken the initiative to this point, but Li Jie still chickened out. If she hadn't known that he had many girlfriends and lovers, and had bumped into him and Luan Xiaolin messing around in the car, she would have even suspected that there was something wrong with his health. Wang Haining couldn't help but feel a deep sense of frustration and dissatisfaction. How was she worse than Luan Xiaolin, or his girlfriends and lovers? Why doesn't he want her even though she's loyal to him? Then can you accept me? Li Jie looked at her stubborn little appearance and sighed inwardly. It's harder to be a good person than a bad person. If he is really a scumbag, why should he worry so much? Let's play with the beauty first. If you get tired of playing with her, get rid of her if you find it troublesome. Anyway, rich people will never lack young and beautiful girls. Even Wang Haining's level is not lacking. It's a pity that he still has a bottom line, and there are some things that he can't do after all. Haining, there are so many men in this world, and there are also many good ones. You are so beautiful, and there is no shortage of boys to chase you. Why do you have to fall in love with me? Besides, I'm not a good man. I'm very carefree and half-hearted. Seeing that Li Jie still refused, Wang Haining couldn't control the tears in her eyes anymore, and the tears flowed down in a flash. I don't care, I just like you, no matter how nice others are, I will never want you. She looked extremely stubborn. In my heart you are the best. But you don't want me at this point. Wang Haining collapsed emotionally, threw herself into Li Jie's arms and burst into tears. They all bully me. You are the only one I have. You can't let me go. I listen to you. I can change whatever you don't like about me. During this period, facing so many strange looks and rumors, Wang Haining seemed to be excluded by everyone. On the surface, Wang Haining pretended to be strong, but in fact, she had accumulated too much grievances and pressure in her heart. Now she vented all her emotions. Okay, don't cry, Li Jie gently stroked her back and comforted her. A man would feel soft-hearted when faced with a crying beauty, not to mention that he hates seeing girls, especially beautiful girls, cry. But it was okay if he didn't comfort her. Once he comforted her, Wang Haining cried even harder. Weeping so loudly that I was out of breath. Li Jie had no choice but to hold her in his arms and let her vent her emotions. After crying for half an hour, the clothes on Li Jie's chest were soaked with tears. Only then did Wang Haining's crying gradually stop and turned into soft sobbing. While sobbing, he spoke intermittently. It seemed that he was talking to Li Jie, but also seemed to be talking to himself. She said that when she was a child, her father always beat her mother, and sometimes even hit her. She was particularly afraid of her father. Later, her mother divorced her father and took her alone to live with her grandparents. Her grandparents treated her fairly well, but she didn't feel comfortable living under someone else's roof, and she received many looks and dislikes from relatives. She said that her mother was very strict with her and never allowed her to have contact with boys in middle school and high school. If she saw any boy she got close to, she would give her a slap in the face. She said that her mother was not in good health, so she didn't want to tell her some things because she was worried. Wang Haining talked a lot: what happened when she was a child, what happened when she was in school, what happened after being hidden in the snow, what she thought of Li Jie, etc. She spoke out all the thoughts in her heart, completely exposing her inner world. Li Jie didn't say a word and listened quietly to her story. This was the first time that he had completely come into contact with a girl's inner world. Wang Haining could be said to have no reservations. She told him all her thoughts, good and bad. This is something neither Xiao Qiao nor Zhou Ziyu has ever done. This gave Li Jie a feeling in his heart, as if he had mastered everything about the girl in front of him. I looked down on you a little at first. I thought you were too carefree and ridiculous. If I were to find a boyfriend, I definitely wouldn't find someone like you. Having said this, Wang Haining smiled. Later I realized that you are an excellent man, principled, responsible, and someone worthy of dependence and trust. Your care is also driven by a sense of responsibility. There are too many good girls who like you, and you just want to take on the responsibility of taking care of them. Listening to Wang Haining's words, Li Jie felt like he was understood. He was indeed the person she said he was. He carries the reputation of being a playboy just to take care of a few more beautiful girls, so that they can avoid the hardships of life and live a life without worries about food and clothing. Just like Lu Yufei, it is better for him to take care of her than for her to follow the stick in the future, right? How difficult is it for him to do good deeds but not be understood? Calling him a scumbag is absolutely slander. Wang Haining talked for more than 2 hours, and she had just lost control and cried for so long, and her voice was hoarse by the end. Okay, I'm done. After a pause, she looked at him again and said reluctantly, then I'll leave. After this farewell, the two of them didn't know if they would have a chance to see each other again. Hearing Wang Haining say that she was leaving, Li Jie felt a deep sense of loss in his heart. He didn't want her to leave, and he also wanted to hear what she was saying. But reason still allowed him to maintain restraint. Seeing that Li Jie was still indifferent, Wang Haining was really frustrated. She had done everything she could, but she still couldn't impress Li Jie. What else could she do? She couldn't be so shameless and forcefully take off his clothes. She took one last look at him, opened the door and got out of the car. However, as soon as she took one leg out, she was pulled back by Li Jie. With a bang, the car door was closed again, leaving only one black high-heeled shoe outside the car. Li Jie, what are you doing? Wang Haining was lying in Li Jie's arms, looking surprised and happy. Li Jie didn't answer, but lowered his head and kissed her. Unlike the previous time in the hotel bathroom, Li Jie's movements this time were very gentle. Zhou Chao, who was squatting under the tree, stood up and moved his body. There were 7 or 8 cigarette butts thrown on the ground, all smoked by him. Zhou Chao glanced in the direction of the car again. It's been almost 3 hours, why is it still not finished? His boss's physical fitness is also very good, right? With this in mind, Zhou Chao took out the last cigarette in the cigarette case, lit it, and took a deep breath. He has run out of cigarettes. At this moment, he found the door of the Bentley opened, and Wang Haining took one leg out and got out of the car. It's finally done. Zhou Chao put out his cigarette and started to go back. But at the next moment, Wang Haining was pulled back again and the car door was closed again. Zhou Chao was stunned and stopped. Are these two already, or have they just started? It seems he still has to wait. Zhou Chao glanced at the cigarette on the ground and regretted a little. Don't throw it away, this is his last cigarette. After thinking about it, he picked up the broken cigarette again. It would be good to take 2 more puffs. In the car, Li Jie and Wang Haining made out for a while and then let her go. What's wrong? Wang Haining was obviously a little unfinished. Li Jie smiled and kissed her again. He was actually a little impulsive just now, but now that the matter is over, he can't tell her anymore. I was just impulsive just now, and now I regret it. You'd better leave. Isn't that just playing tricks on others? But he still wanted to delay it, not wanting the relationship between the two to progress too quickly. Once a girl like Wang Haining has an intimate relationship with him, she will definitely be entangled to death. It's better to keep some distance first, and then it depends on the situation. The door of the back seat of the Bentley finally opened. Li Jie got out of the car first, and then he helped Wang Haining out of the car. Wang Haining's cheeks were flushed, and her body leaned softly in his arms. Li Jie glanced at Wang Haining and sighed inwardly. You shouldn't be impulsive. Hey, it's all this damn novelty. However, it is not entirely true how much Li Jie regrets. Wang Haining looked at the bright and beautiful atmosphere, but she didn't expect to act like a coquettish girl and compete with Xiao Qiao. What a disaster. Now if Li Jie really wants to let go, he is still a little reluctant to let go. As long as she wasn't too pretentious and clingy, he might as well tolerate it. Li Jie understood a little bit why Lu could tolerate Sister Li Gang, who relied on her beauty to commit crimes. The more beautiful the woman, the higher the man's tolerance. Li Jie used to think that he would definitely not be able to tolerate a girl with Sister Li Gang's personality, but now he feels that he can tolerate it. At least it was bearable until he lost the novelty. At this time, Zhou Chao came over. Mr. Li. He was very measured and kept his eyes straight, not even looking at Wang Haining in Li Jie's arms. Li Jie glanced at this incompetent bodyguard. If it hadn't been for him, he wouldn't have made a mistake today. Should I let him go? Forget it, let's give him another chance. If he dares to do it next time, let's talk about it. Li Jie half supported and half carried Wang Haining into the residential building. It wasn't until Li Jie's figure disappeared at the door of the building that Zhou Chao withdrew his gaze. He knew that his boss was going to have another lover. His boss is really capable, and he can handle having so many girlfriends and lovers. It certainly wouldn't work if he did. Wang Haining rents an old-fashioned low-rise staircase with no elevator. The building has 5 floors in total, and the house she rented is on the 3rd floor. Li Jie carried Wang Haining upstairs and came to the door of the rental house. Wang Haining took out the key and opened the door. After resting for a while, her body recovered a lot. Walking into the house, Li Jie looked around and found that the house was not big, just over 50 square meters, with 1 bedroom and 1 living room. The decoration was a bit old and there was not much furniture. Brother Jie, please sit down, Wang Haining greeted. I'm a bit rudimentary, don't mind. Li Jie nodded and sat down on the small double sofa. Brother Jie, what do you want to drink? After saying that, Wang Haining said embarrassedly, I only have water here, not even a bottle of drink. Let me wash some apples. Don't be busy, just get a bottle of water, Li Jie said. It's okay, just wait for me for a while. With that, Wang Haining went to the kitchen. Li Jie looked around, picked up the remote control from the coffee table, and turned on the old-fashioned tube TV. What happened to be playing on TV was the prequel of the Lotus Lantern. Looking at Chang'e on the screen, Li Jie subconsciously thought of the Invincible. Who would have thought that the actor who played Chang'e and the actor who played Lin Wuti were the same person? Soon, Wang Haining came back with a plate of apples and 2 bottles of water. Putting down the apple and water, she sat down next to him on the sofa. "Brother Jie, let me peel an apple for you." "I'll do it." Li Jie took the apple and fruit knife from her hand. After peeling the apple cleanly, he cut the apple in half and gave half to Wang Haining. "Half for each of us." "Yeah." Wang Haining took the apple and ate it in small bites, unable to hide the smile on her face. Li Jie looked a little funny. With her appearance, she could easily find a boyfriend with good conditions and doting on her, but she refused. If you insist on being his lover in a humble manner, half an apple will be so happy. I don't know what she was thinking. Apart from having more money and decent looks, he doesn't have many advantages. This scumbag is in Versailles again. After watching TV and accompanying Wang Haining for a while, Li Jie raised his hand and looked at the time on his watch. It was already 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon. "Brother Jie, are you leaving?" Wang Haining looked at him with reluctance in her eyes. Li Jie was about to leave. Seeing her pitiful appearance, like an abandoned kitten, his heart softened. He smiled and said, "It's so late and I haven't had lunch yet." "I'm already hungry, aren't you hungry?" Of course Wang Haining was hungry. Not only did she not have lunch, she didn't even eat breakfast. But Li Jie would leave at any time, and she just wanted to stay with him for a while longer. Between men and women, whoever is more proactive and whoever pays more is humbler. "Let's go eat." Li Jie stood up. "Brother Jie, why don't we go to the supermarket to buy some food?" "I want to cook a meal for you myself," Wang Haining said in a pleading tone. "Now go buy groceries and cook. I'm afraid it will be dark by the time the meal is ready." Li Jie was really hungry and didn't want to wait any longer, but seeing Wang Haining's pleading look, he still smiled and agreed. He also did dog licking, but, no, he pursued a girl, and he still felt some empathy for her. "Okay, then I'll try your craft." Seeing that Li Jie agreed, Wang Haining's pretty face suddenly showed joy. It takes time to buy groceries and cook, so Li Jie can stay a little longer. The two went out together and went downstairs to a nearby supermarket. However, both of them covered themselves up when going out, and each wore a mask. This place is too close to the normal university, so you might run into some familiar people. Not many people in the National Normal University know him, but there are some. Zhao Jinjia, Yu Xiangzi, Cao Qian, and some students from the National Normal University short video shooting team have also met him. Li Jie didn't want Zhou Ziu and the others to learn of Wang Haining's existence so soon. This kind of thing can be kept hidden for one more day. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I really didn't want to be a warm man when I was reborn. Author, Li Yuanjie. Chapter 417. When she came to a nearby supermarket, Wang Haining bought a lot of ingredients, including fresh vegetables, pork, beef, prawns, etc. She also bought a lot of snacks, fruits, and drinks, and her shopping cart was full. Li Jie couldn't stand it anymore. "Why did you buy so many things? The two of us can't eat much." "It's okay." Wang Haining smiled at him with a charming look. "The first time I cook for you, it must be richer." Haining, at this time, a surprised and uncertain voice came. Li Jie and Wang Haining turned around following the voice and saw that the person speaking was a young and pretty girl, of medium height, well dressed and with a somewhat squeamish expression. Next to her was a tall, handsome boy pushing a shopping cart. "Guyujia," Wang Haining was also a little surprised. "Haining, is really you?" The girl named Guyujia looked at Li Jie curiously. "Is this your boyfriend?" Wang Zhaining glanced at Li Jie and gave a vague hum. Gu Yujia noticed her expression, smiled thoughtfully, glanced at the boy next to her, and introduced him proactively. This is my boyfriend Han Hao, who is in the second year of graduate school at our school. After saying that, she looked at Li Jie again and said with a smile, Zhaining, why don't you introduce this person of yours? Wang Zhaining forced a smile, we. Seeing Wang Zhaining in trouble, Li Jie took the initiative and said, my name is Zhao Yuanze, and I am Zhaining's boyfriend. According to the genealogy, Li Jie's generation should be the Yuan generation, called Li Yuanze. But now there is no such thing as so much emphasis. When Mother Li named him, she didn't follow the order. As for Zhao, it is Li's mother's surname. Gu Yujia was a little surprised that Li Jie suddenly spoke. Handsome guy, you are in school or already working? How did you catch up with our beautiful girls Zhaining? Li Jie smiled faintly and said, I work in a small company, not worth mentioning. After a pause, he looked at the boy next to Gu Yujia, classmate, you have good taste. Thank you, Gu Yujia smiled proudly. Work for a small company? Her eyes fell on the watch on Li Jie's wrist, and she smiled playfully in her heart. This boy should be the rich second-generation Wang Zhaining fell in love with. What Li Jie is wearing is the gold Rolex Date-8 watch given to him by Zhou Ziyu, which is worth more than 200,000. After they separated from Gu Yujia, Wang Zhaining explained softly, that Gu Yujia is our professional, a native of Shanghai, and he has a sense of superiority. After a pause, she said again, Brother Jie, I just caused you trouble. Wang Zhaining was indescribably happy when she saw Li Jie stand up and admit that they were boyfriend and girlfriend. Even though she knew that Li Jie was just helping her out, and he was doing countless things. Li Jie smiled after hearing this and reached out to touch her head. What are you talking about? You are my girlfriend. When he told the girl named Gu Yujia that she had good taste, it was not a compliment. But he noticed that her boyfriend kept staring at Wang Zhaining. He already has a girlfriend, but he still has ideas for other girls. That boy is obviously a scumbag. This guy has completely forgotten that he is in the same boat, yet he still has the nerve to call others a scumbag. Wang Zhaining smiled cutely and looked at Li Jie with satisfied eyes. She just said in her heart, is she a girlfriend? After the purchase was completed, the two went to the cashier to pay. After the cashier finished scanning the goods, Li Jie took out his wallet and was about to pay, but Wang Zhaining stopped him. Brother Jie, let me do it, she said and took out her wallet. Li Jie glanced at her and didn't insist. Although he is not used to eating soft food and spending women's money. But Wang Zhaining was an exception. He wanted to see how far she could go. 2 large shopping bags were filled with things. Li Jie and Wang Zhaining each carried a bag and left the supermarket. Li Jie didn't want to let Wang Zhaining carry anything. This big shopping bag was not light. He was the most compassionate person. But she insisted on carrying a bag too. The two walked back, and when they passed an intersection, they saw 3 or 4 students holding DV cameras and microphones interviewing passers-by. This is the short video shooting team of the National Normal University doing a street interview. Nowadays, more and more people are making short videos on the Kudong platform, because this is a hugely profitable industry. If you really become an internet celebrity, you can earn tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands a month, and you have the opportunity to change your destiny and gain both fame and fortune. There are many examples circulating on the internet of ordinary people making short videos and becoming rich. The typical example is Zhao Minjiao. Before, she was just a small factory girl, but now she has become a top internet celebrity with tens of millions of fans. She earns several million a year, which is more than many celebrities earn. Many people follow the example of Zhao Minjiao and others and invest in equipment to join the industry. Many college students have spontaneously established short video shooting societies. It's just that only a few people succeed. Nowadays, thousands of short videos are added to the Kudong video platform every day, but only a few hundred are somewhat popular, and only a dozen are really popular. Most of the videos are off the market. Many people make short videos on impulse. They were interested when they invested money to buy equipment. However, after a few videos were not popular, their enthusiasm suddenly dropped and they soon gave up. But when someone quits, someone joins in, and the cycle repeats. Seeing Li Jie and Wang Haining approaching, several students doing street interviews immediately regarded the two as interview targets and came over with filming equipment. After Li Jie saw one of the girls, who was petite and had a very cold expression, he secretly said to himself what a coincidence he had met Cao Qian. Her world-weary look is so distinctive. A tall girl stopped the two of them with a microphone. "Hello, you two, we are students from the National Normal University newspaper. We are doing a street survey. Can I interview you two?" The students in the Normal University newspaper are just the names of the interviewees. "Sorry, we don't want to be interviewed." Wang Haining glanced at Li Jie subconsciously. "It's just to answer one or two simple questions. It won't take much time for you two." The girl didn't want to give up. Although both Li Jie and Wang Haining are wearing masks, you can tell that Wang Haining is a beauty just by looking at her body shape and skin color. An interview like this will help increase the attention of the video. In addition, we also have small gifts to give away. The girl said and gestured to the cardboard box Cao Qian was holding, which contained plastic water cups, small hot water bottles, small dolls, and other small gifts. "We really don't want to be interviewed." Wang Haining shook her head and still refused. After saying that, she was about to leave with Li Jie. The boy holding a DV camera and a shooting stand suddenly said, "Are you Wang Haining from our school?" Wang Haining paused, glanced at him and said, "I'm not some Wang Haining." When the two of them walked away, the boy said doubtfully, "That's wrong. She should be Wang Haining." The tall girl asked with interest, "You said she is Wang Haining? Is that boy her legendary boyfriend?" Cao Qian stared closely at the two people's retreating figures. She always felt that the boy's figure was very familiar, as if she had seen it somewhere. Suddenly, she thought of something. Could it be that he can't do it? After returning to the rental house, Wang Haining started busy cooking. Li Jie stopped her. "Aren't you hungry? Let's cook later. Eat some snacks first to fill your stomach," he said, picking up a biscuit-like snack and tearing open the wrapping paper. "Come on, open your mouth." Looking at the cookies in his hand, Wang Haining opened her mouth with a smile. However, Li Jie just waved the biscuit in front of her eyes and put it into his mouth. "Brother Jie," Wang Haining said coquettishly when she saw this. Li Jie smiled, picked up another biscuit, and tore open the wrapping paper. "Okay, I'll give it to you this time." He fed the cookie into her mouth. Wang Haining ate the biscuits with pleasure and looked at him with a smile, her beautiful eyes full of affection. Li Jie was in a very good mood when he looked at her little appearance. When you are with a beautiful girl like Wang Haining, even if you don't do that, teasing her is still very interesting. With this in mind, he took another piece of beef jerky, tore off the wrapping paper and waved it in front of her eyes. "Do you want to eat?" "Yeah," Wang Haining smiled and nodded coquettishly. "Then you." Li Jie mouthed something. Wang Haining looked at it, bit her lip, leaned over and kissed him on the lips. "Okay," she said coquettishly. After getting the reward, Li Jie smiled and fed her the beef jerky. "In this way, the two of you kiss me and I feed you, playing a little game between lovers." Wang Haining was also very supportive. She obviously paid for the snacks, but she had to pay a special reward to eat them. After she was almost fed, Li Jie started to eat. Why do these words feel so ambiguous? It has to be said that liking the new and hating the old is a common problem among men. When he first got together with Xiao Qiao and Zhou Ziyu, Li Jie also liked to play this kind of little game with them, but now he rarely plays it. Now he prefers to play kneeling games with them. After eating a few biscuits and 2 pieces of beef jerky, Li Jie stopped eating. "Let's go cook," he stood up. Wang Zhining also stood up. "Husband, just rest, I can just do it myself." "It's okay, let me help you." The two came to the kitchen together. Wang Zhining took out a red plaid half-length apron. "There is only one apron. Put it on, you are the main force." Li Jie took the apron from her hand and tied it around her waist from behind. Wang Zhining has a really good figure. She is tall, has long legs and a thin waist. It's just that her waist is not as thin as Xiao Qiao's, but the president's waist is absolutely amazing. It's so full that when Li Jie made her kneel down, he was afraid that her waist would break. However, what does kneeling as punishment have to do with the waist? After Li Jie tied Wang Zhining's apron, he did not let her go. Instead, he hugged her from behind and lowered his head to smell the faint fragrance on her neck. He found the atmosphere interesting and wondered whether he should cook something else before cooking. Just then, his cell phone rang suddenly. Li Jie let go of Wang Zhining, took out his cell phone and took a look. "I'm going to answer the phone first." After saying that, he left the kitchen to answer the phone. Wang Zhining looked at his back, breathed a sigh of relief, and felt a little weak. Before falling in love, she had many beautiful and romantic visions. Only after falling in love did I realize that men are actually very astringent. However, she was not disgusted with it, but rather liked it. It took more than 20 minutes for Li Jie to finish answering the phone. Seeing that he was back, Wang Zhining asked softly while washing vegetables, "Brother Jie, is there something wrong with your company?" Li Jie smiled at her and said, "Nothing, let's cook." The call just now was from Lu Yufei, asking him if he wanted to go back for the festival tonight. Today is New Year's Day. She also hinted to him that several sets of new costumes had been made and delivered first, and one of them was Xiao Longnu's costume. Tempt him by being a dragon knight. Is he the kind of person who can't resist temptation? In fact, after staying in Shanghai for a while, Lu Yufei and Liu's mother also knew that Li Jie had a girlfriend and a lover. They didn't care much about this. It was normal for a billionaire like Li Jie to have several women, but it was abnormal to not have even one woman. Besides, Li Jie's women are ordinary girls with no background and no abilities. Neither Lu Yufei nor Liu's mother thought that those ordinary girls would be competitors. Washing vegetables, chopping vegetables, preparing seasonings, and just when he was about to start cooking, Li Jie's cell phone rang again. He took out his cell phone, looked at it, and went to answer the phone again. This time he took longer to answer the phone. It took more than half an hour before he came back. Wang Zhining had already cooked several dishes. With reluctance in her eyes, she forced a smile and said, "Brother Jie, if you really have something to do, please leave first." Li Jie smiled and raised her face. Her pitiful little appearance was so heartbreaking. This Wang Zhining is also a disaster. If her emotional intelligence could be higher, she would be able to compete with Zhou Ziyu for favor. "Don't worry, I'll stay with you for a while longer and then leave after dinner." The call this time was from Xiao Qiao and the others, asking him if he wanted to go back for the festival tonight. Xiao Qiao smiled and said that as a holiday bonus, the 4 of them could take turns accompanying him tonight. When Li Jie heard this, he almost didn't want to go back. This was not giving out welfare. The 4 of them wanted to murder their husband. Hey, it's hard work when there are too many women, and you don't have enough time to do all the work. "I'll come, you take a rest." Taking the frying spoon from Wang Zhining, Li Jie also stir-fried a few vegetables and made up 8 dishes. He left 2 or 3 hard dishes and stopped cooking. After putting the dishes on the table, he opened a bottle of red wine he bought, and the 2 of them drank and ate the dishes. What's wrong? Li Zhe noticed that she was in a very depressed mood. Wang Zhining forced a smile and said, "It's nothing." The thought of Li Zhe leaving after dinner made her feel unspeakably uncomfortable. Li Zhe looked at her, probably guessing something, and sighed softly. He picked up the red wine and filled it for her. "Let's have another drink." Let her drink more wine and go to bed early so that she won't have random thoughts. Li Zhe tried his best to eat as slowly as possible, but no matter how slow he would still finish the meal. Looking at the time on his watch, it was already past 8 p.m. Li Zhe stood up and picked up his coat on the sofa. "Zhining, it's time for me to go." "Brother Zhe, let me see you off," Wang Zhining bit her lip and said. "Don't give it away. It's too late. It's not safe for you as a girl." After leaving the door, Li Zhe glanced at Wang Zhining, who was standing at the door, looking at him eagerly like an abandoned kitten. He calmed down and turned around to leave. Downstairs, Zhou Chao has already driven over and is waiting. Seeing Li Zhe come out, he immediately opened the backseat door. Just when Li Zhe was about to get in the car, he seemed to hear something and turned around again. "Brother Zhe, don't go yet, don't go, don't go," Wang Zhining ran out of the building anxiously. Because she ran so fast, she almost fell when she came to Li Zhe. Li Zhe quickly supported her. He noticed that she ran down barefoot. "What's wrong? What happened?" I don't have your phone number yet," Wang Zhining said breathlessly. When Li Zhe heard this, he didn't know what to say. "Just for this. This is very important, okay? How can I contact you without your phone number?" Wang Zhining watched Li Zhe's figure disappear at the top of the stairs, and then returned to the house. When she returned to the house and saw her cell phone, she suddenly remembered that she didn't have Li Zhe's contact information, so she hurriedly chased him out. She couldn't walk fast in slippers, so she simply threw them off. "Okay, it's very important." Li Zhe smiled and picked her up. She was still barefoot. On a winter night, the ground was very cold. "Where's your cell phone? I told you to dial the number." Wang Zhining glanced at him and said angrily and aggrievedly, "I have your phone number, but you blocked me." "Did I block you?" Li Zhe said a little doubtfully. "When did you call me?" "It was the 21st of last month." After hearing this, Li Zhe thought about it and suddenly understood. It turns out that she was the one who harassed him as a dragon knight that night. No, she was playing opposite Lu Yufei. "Can you find it yourself?" He took out the phone and handed it to her. Wang Zhining took the phone, opened the dialing interface, and quickly found her number. "Restore the number to the whitelist and save it as Song Ching-er." "Okay. Song Ching-er is my number." She put the phone into his pocket. "Song Ching-er," Li Zhe said doubtfully. "My name was Song Ching-er when I was a child. When my mother divorced my father, I took my mother's surname," Wang Zhining explained. After a pause, she said a little worriedly, "You won't block me again, will you?" "What are you thinking about?" Li Zhe flicked her forehead in a funny way. "Okay, let me take you upstairs. I really didn't want to be a warm man when I was reborn." Author, Li Yuanzhe. Chapter 418. Li Zhe carried Wang Zhining to the second floor and saw two slippers scattered on the corridor stairs. He first put Wang Zhining down and asked her to put on the slippers, and then picked her up again and went to the third floor. The door was not closed, but wide open. Apparently Wang Zhining was too hasty when she ran out. Not only did she throw away her slippers, she didn't even bother to close the door. Back in the house, Li Zhe put Wang Zhining down and said, "Okay, then I'm leaving." Wang Zhining hugged his neck but refused to let go. She bit her lip and begged coquettishly, "Brother Zhe, can you not leave tonight?" Looking at her cute little appearance, Li Zhe sighed softly in his heart. He is so difficult. There are too many girlfriends and lovers to accompany me. "Okay, I'll stay with you for a while," and then I'll leave after you fall asleep. Yes, Wang Haining nodded vigorously, with a joyful smile on her pretty face, showing a bit of cunning. She also knew that she couldn't keep Li Jie, so she just asked for high prices and paid them back on the spot. Li Jie also understood at this time and smiled funnily. Okay, can you let me go? Wang Haining shook her head lightly and said coquettishly, you carry me to the bedroom. Okay, Li Jie couldn't do anything to her, so he picked her up again and walked into the bedroom. This bedroom is not big, only a dozen square meters, with a 1.2-meter single bed, covered with white printed sheets and quilt covers. Opposite the bed is a white desk, light purple curtains, and several pots of green plants on the balcony. There are not many furnishings, but the layout is very warm. However, the quilt was not folded, and there were a few pieces of clothes scattered on the bed. Li Jie even saw a set of white underwear, which was obviously worn. Seeing Li Jie's eyes falling on his underwear, Wang Haining explained sheepishly, the room was a bit messy. I was in a hurry to attend the signing press conference in the morning, so I didn't have time to clean it up. Li Jie smiled after hearing this, put away her clothes and underwear, and then put her on the bed. Okay, go to bed early. I'll leave when you fall asleep. Wang Haining snorted lightly and then started to change clothes. She didn't care about Li Jie at all and took off her top and jeans, leaving only a pair of slightly conservative white underwear. Her sexy and perfect figure was fully exposed, with tall breasts, curved buttocks, long and slender legs, graceful curves, waterfall-like hair, and extremely delicate and fair skin, as if it could glow. Even though Li Jie was in the sage's time, he still felt excited watching it. This Wang Haining was definitely tempting him. He was going to attack her, and she would definitely not be able to leave tonight. Wang Haining gave him a cute look, stood up, opened the cabinet, found a set of plaid pajamas and changed into them. Then she pulled back the quilt and lay on the bed. Then I slept. Go to sleep, Li Jie smiled at her. After a while, seeing her looking at him with a smile, Li Jie couldn't help but said funnily, why do you sleep with your eyes open? I want to see you for a while longer, Wang Haining said coquettishly. After a pause, she added, besides, I'm afraid you'll disappear as soon as I close my eyes. She really knows how to do it. It's time to catch up with President Jiao. Li Jie smiled and took Wang Haining's hand and held it gently. Her hands are also very beautiful. Her fingers are long and slender, and her skin is white, tender and smooth. When she holds it, she feels soft and boneless. God is really unfair. She is also a human being. Why can she look so perfect? It was as if she was carefully created by Nuwa, and he was thrown out by Nuwa casually. So you're not afraid that I'll disappear, right? Okay, go to sleep. Yeah, Wang Haining nodded with a smile, closed her eyes, but quickly opened them again. Go to sleep, Li Jie said again with a smile. Wang Haining glanced at him, closed her eyes again, and did not open them again this time. Li Jie was sitting by the bed, looking at her pretty face quietly with a smile. She has a fair and delicate face, a pure and bright face, her eyelids move slightly, and her long eyelashes also tremble. She has such a good foundation, it's like she has a beautiful face. As a reborn person, Li Jie is very lonely in this world, not to mention that he also lacks family ties, not even a relative with whom he can express his true feelings. So he pinned his feelings on Xiaoqiao, Zhouziu, Lu Kaiyu, and Shen Xinyi. But people are all independent individuals. Even if Xiaoqiao and Zhouziu are very dependent on him, they still have a certain degree of independence and have their own thoughts and plans. But Wang Haining's appearance made Li Jie discover a special case. This girl can be said to be completely dependent on him, and has even lost her independent personality. Why do many people like to keep pets? Because the pet belongs completely to the owner. There is no need to worry that it will betray you or leave you, or that your efforts will not be rewarded. Li Jie had a similar feeling now. The beautiful girl in front of him seemed to belong to him completely, and he liked her indescribably. Even though the two had only been together for a day. Time passed little by little, and Li Jie became a little tired from sitting. Wang Haining finally fell asleep, breathing steadily, and his eyelids stopped moving. Li Jie let out a breath and looked at the clock on the wall. It was already past 10 p.m. He put Wang Haining's hand back into the quilt, then helped her tuck the quilt in, stood up and left the room, closing the door gently. The moment the door closed, Wang Haining opened her eyes with a disappointed expression. In fact, she was not asleep, but she pretended to be asleep because she knew she could no longer keep Li Jie. Even though she was reluctant to let him leave. At first, Wang Haining only approached Li Jie out of anger and self-destruction, thinking of regaining her lost star halo through him and taking revenge on those who had slandered and bullied her. But as soon as she got along with Li Jie, she completely fell in love with him. She likes him for his principles, his gentleness and thoughtfulness, and also likes him for bullying her in a bad way. He was like a torch in the darkness, lighting up and warming her, giving her an incomparable sense of security. If only she had realized how good he was. Thinking of this, Wang Haining sighed softly. There are too many girls around Li Jie now, and there is too little time to allocate to her. But she wanted to see him all the time. Wang Haining stood up and took her cell phone, wanting to send a text message to Li Jie. However, after she finished editing the text message, she hesitated again. She put her finger on the send button but did not press it. She started sending text messages right after they separated. Would Li Jie think she was too clingy? What should I do if it bothers her? Thinking like this, Wang Haining deleted the text message and threw the phone on the bed. But after a while, she couldn't help but pick up the phone again. After arriving downstairs and getting in the car, Li Jie told Zhou Chao, "Go back to the villa." "Mr. Li, go back to that villa?" Zhou Chao asked. "Sandalwood Villa." Li Jie originally wanted to go to Lu Yufi's place and experience being a dragon knight again. No, he wanted to accompany her first, and then go back to accompany Xiaoqiao, Zhou Ziyu, and the others. But it's so late now, so I definitely can't go. After returning to Tangxiang Villa and sending Zhou Chao away, Li Jie opened the door and walked into the villa. He saw Xiaoqiao, Zhou Ziyu, Lu Kaiyu, and Shen Xinyi sitting on the sofa in the living room. In addition, Bai Wei and Zhao Minjiao are also there. They were called over by Xiaoqiao and Zhou Ziyu to celebrate the festival. On the 70-inch LED LCD TV, the 2006 version of The Condor was playing, and it happened to be a fight scene involving Lu Yufi. Her white clothes were flowing elegantly, and her martial arts movements were smart and elegant, which was pleasing to the eye. Seeing that Li Jie was back, Xiaoqiao, Zhou Ziyu, Lu Kaiyu, and Shen Xinyi all looked at him at the same time. There was no smile on their faces, and no one stood up to welcome him. Even Zhou Ziyu, who has always been gentle and considerate, is the same. Seeing this scene, Li Jie sighed softly in his heart. The four of them were in a mood. Zhao Minjiao stood up and greeted him weakly, "Mr. Li." She is dressed as a very young girl, with a sense of fragility in her cuteness, which makes her very protective. Zhou Ziyu also stood up and said with a smile, "Hubby, you are back." Xiaoqiao gave her a very dissatisfied look and agreed that they should work together to give Li Jie some color. He could not be allowed to fool around outside so unscrupulously. As a result, this week the fox became a traitor again. Li Jie smiled and nodded to Zhao Minjiao, then looked at Zhou Ziyu. "Well, I'm back. He is still the most considerate and sensible little lover. You guys watching TV together?" "We are watching the new version of your favorite The Condor." Xiaoqiao glanced at him, his tone full of jealousy. When did he like The Condor the most? He just prefers playing. Li Jie glanced at the jealous Xiao Qiao, then at the emotional Lu Kaiyu and Shen Xinyi, and couldn't help but feel a little funny. Lu Yufei blocked Wang's Heining's gun for nothing. The four of them must have thought that he had been spending the whole day with Lu Yufei. Li Jie took off his coat, then came to sit next to Zhou Ziyu. I'll also watch TV with you for a while. Xiao Qiao, Zhou Ziyu, Lu Kaiyu, and Shen Xinyi were divided into three groups. Xiao Qiao and Bai Wei sat together, Zhou Ziyu and Zhao Minjiao sat together, Lu Kaiyu and Shen Xian sat together. Seeing Li Jie sitting next to Zhou Ziyu, Xiao Qiao became even more dissatisfied. Bai Wei glanced at them, then at Xiao Qiao and the other four, then stood up. Mr. Li, Xiao Qiao, it's getting late, so I'll go back to the room first. She didn't want to stay here as a light bulb. Seeing that Bai Wei was about to leave, Zhao Minjiao stood up quickly. Sister Li Jie, Sister Ziyu, I'm going back to the room first. Bai Wei and Zhao Minjiao left together. Li Jie stood up and sat down on the big sofa in the middle, then waved to Xiao Qiao and the four of them. Come on, come and sit down. Xiao Qiao subconsciously looked at Zhou Ziyu. Seeing that she was about to get up, she quickly came to Li Jie's left and sat down. Zhou Ziyu smiled when he saw this, and came to sit on Li Jie's right side. Lu Kaiyu and Shen Xinyi sat down next to Xiao Qiao and Zhou Ziyu respectively. Li Jie opened his arms and hugged the four of them. Don't be jealous, Lu Yufei and I have nothing to do with each other. Xiao Qiao sniffed everywhere on him like a puppy. What are you doing? Li Jie touched her head. Xiao Qiao did not speak, but stretched out his hand and picked up a long hair on his clothes, which was more than half a meter long. She shook her hair in front of his eyes, and then said contemptuously, nothing. You've even done it as a dragon knight, and you still have the nerve to say it's nothing. Ahem, Li Jie couldn't help coughing twice after hearing this. How did the Xiao Qiao know about the dragon knight? It's true that he has been a dragon knight, several times, but this hair is not Lu Yufei's, but Wang's Heining's. Seeing Li Jie deflated, Shen Xian snickered, and Zhou Ziyu and Lu Kaiyu also had smiles on their faces. Li Jie subconsciously glanced at the little dragon girl on TV. Don't talk nonsense, what a dragon knight. Xiao Qiao's eyes became even more contemptuous. If you dare to do it or not, do you dare to say that you have never been a dragon knight? After a pause, she continued, however, I can understand it. After all, she is Lu Yufei. Which of you men doesn't want to be a dragon knight? Besides, you are so carefree and astringent. Li Jie couldn't listen anymore. This Xiao Qiao was so angry that he dared to slander him like this. Pa, he grabbed her into his arms and spanked her hard on her butt. Ah, Xiao Qiao screamed in pain after being beaten. I was right, so you became angry, right? Zhou Ziyu, Lu Kaiyu, Shen Xinyi, and the others couldn't help but chuckle. Xiao Qiao sat on Li Jie, looked at him and said, Husband, it's okay if you want to have one more lover. Anyway, you may have several secretly, but you must not bring anyone in, otherwise. She didn't say anything further, but her firm eyes made her attitude clear. Zhou Ziyu, Lu Kaiyu, Shen Xinyi, and others also looked at him. Li Jie smiled at her, then looked at Zhou Ziyu and the others, and also smiled at them. Don't worry, you four are the most important in my heart, no one can compare with you. After a pause, he continued, as I said, you will have everything other girls have, including the wedding, including the certificate. Li Jie knew that Lu Yufei's incident was just the trigger. What really made them feel uneasy was their lack of security. He is getting richer and richer, and his status is getting higher and higher. The economic and status gap between the two parties is getting wider and wider, and their sense of security is getting lower and lower. Afraid that he would abandon them and not want them. Especially Xiao Qiao and Shen Xinyi, they have the lowest sense of security. So, he had to do something. Including that certificate? Xiaojiao, Zhouziu, Lu Kaiyu, and Shen Xinyi looked at each other with surprise in their eyes. This was the first time that Li Jie mentioned marriage in front of the four of them. Especially Shen Xinyi and Lu Kaiyu were even more surprised. Shen Xian thought repeatedly about whether Li Jie would marry her, but no matter how he thought about it, he felt that there was little hope. Although Li Jie didn't say it, she felt that among the four of them, her status in Li Jie's heart should be the lowest. Lu Kaiyu feels that she still has a long way to go. Now she may not be able to compete with Xiaojiao and Zhouziu, but as long as she can become an indispensable helper in Li Jie's career, the final winner will definitely be her. But there are four of us. You can't marry us together, right? Shen Xinyi said softly. Bigamy is illegal, Lu Kaiyu said. Li Jie smiled and said, yes, bigamy is illegal. I can't marry the four of you together, but you can get divorced after getting married, and you can remarry after getting divorced. There is no limit to the number of marriages and divorces. He paused and said, I can take turns marrying you. After hearing what he said, Xiaojiao, Zhouziu, Lu Kaiyu, and Shen Xinyi all looked surprised, as if saying, this is okay. However, it does work. The four of them looked at each other. Shen Xinyi and Lu Kaiyu had joy in their eyes, but there was no joy in the eyes of Xiaojiao and Zhouziu. Xiaojiao was very dissatisfied. Li Jie, a scumbag, had previously promised to marry her, but now he had taken turns marrying her. How could this work? Li Jie originally belonged to her only, and she had already given in by allowing Zhou Huixu, Lu Changjia, and Shen Xiaohan to share it, but now he has to share even the most important status with them. Is this fair to her? Zhouziu is not satisfied either. What she wants is a real status, not sharing it with others. Besides, forget about Xiaojiao, what qualifications do Lu Kaiyu and Shen Xinyi have? However, in her opinion, the most important thing is to get the status first, and other things can be discussed later. I disagree. Husband, who will you marry first? I really didn't want to be a warm man when I was reborn. Author, Li Yuanjie. Chapter 419. The first sentence was said by Xiaojiao, and the second sentence was said by Zhouziu. Objection is invalid, Li Jie glanced at Xiaojiao and said. After hearing this, Xiaojiao bit her lip and stared at him, feeling aggrieved and unhappy, as if she was about to cry. Li Jie reached out and hugged her, comforting her softly and saying, okay, I know this is fair to you, but you are a sister, so you should be patient with your sisters. The ghosts are sisters with them. They are all her enemies, enemies, enemies. Is he treating her like a child? Xiaojiao felt aggrieved, angry and uncomfortable, and she couldn't help but shed tears. Seeing Xiaojiao crying, Li Jie couldn't help but feel a little distressed. He was really sorry for Xiaojiao and forced her to give in again and again. Zhouziu, Lu Kaiyu, and Shen Xinyi looked at the scene with complicated expressions in their eyes. Strictly speaking, they were all third parties and felt sorry for Xiaojiao. But they are absolutely unwilling to give up their status completely. Stop crying, Li Jie reached out and wiped Xiaojiao's tears. I'm just asking you to give in temporarily. Most of the time, the title is still yours. After speaking, he looked at Zhouziu, Lu Kaiyu, Shen Xinyi, and the others. After all, Xiaojiao was the first to follow me, so he deserves some privileges. Do you have any objections? Li Jie seemed to be asking, but his tone was unquestionable. Husband, I have no objection. Shen Xinyi was the first to express his opinion. She was very satisfied to have a wedding and get the certificate, even if it was just for a while. This way she can explain things to her family. I have no objection either, Lu Kaiyu said. She and Zhouziu had similar ideas. They wanted to get the title first. As for who would be the final winner, everyone had to rely on their own abilities. Husband, who do you plan to marry first? Zhouziu repeated the question just now. Her words showed her attitude and she could give in, but she couldn't give in on who got the certificate first. After listening to Joseu's words, Lu Kaiyu and Shen Xinyi also looked at Li Jie, which they didn't want to do. Each of them wants to be the first. Who to marry first? Li Jie had a headache when he heard this question. This kind of problem is like if your girlfriend and mother fall into the water at the same time, who do you save first? It is a problem of the century. Besides, his mind has changed and he doesn't want to get married too early. You can have fun as long as you are not married. If you have many girlfriends and lovers, you can only say that you are a playboy. But if you continue to play like this after you are married, it is a moral issue. But this matter cannot be delayed forever. If it is really delayed until the age of 26 or 7, Xiao Qiao and the others are likely to have problems in their hearts as their insecurity grows day by day. How about this? Let's see who is lucky and who of you gets pregnant first. Li Jie stopped midway through his words. He noticed that the 4 of them looked at him with different eyes, as if they wanted to eat him. This made him feel nervous, and he quickly changed his mind and said, "Why don't you just guess and see who wins?" "No," Xiao Qiao, Joseu, Lu Kaiyu, and Shen Xinyi all said at the same time. Xiao Qiao glanced at Joseu and the others with sharp eyes. "It's decided, whoever gets pregnant first will get married first." Joseu, Lu Kaiyu, and Shen Xinyi all nodded in agreement. They all felt that their luck would not be bad. Seeing the 4 of them gearing up, Li Jie was a little scared. "Why don't you just stick to guessing?" "No," Xiao Qiao, Joseu, Lu Kaiyu, and Shen Xinyi all expressed their opposition at the same time. "That's it," the 4 of them said in unison again. Li Jie sighed secretly in his heart and regretted it to death. Why did he come up with that idea? Wasn't this looking for trouble for himself? How should I live my life from now on? Shen Xinyi said softly, "How about this? No matter who wins, the rest will be the bridesmaids." When Li Jie heard this, his heart moved. Shen Guigui's idea was very good. Okay, Xiao Qiao, Joseu, and Lu Kaiyu thought for a while and all agreed. They all think alike, as long as they become the winner, the rest will become mere foils. Xiao Qiao looked at Li Jie and said, "Hubby, who are you accompanying tonight?" After hearing what she said, Joseu and the others also looked at Li Jie, waiting for him to make a decision. "Who will you accompany tonight?" "He doesn't want to accompany anyone. He just wants to have a good time. Why can't they let him go?" "It's getting late. I'm going back to the room first." "You all should go to bed early." Li Jie stood up and prepared to leave. "No, you have to choose one." Xiao Qiao took his arm. Shen Xinyi also grabbed his clothes. "Honey, today is the holiday, how about we accompany you together?" Joseu said, understanding. In the past, Xiao Qiao, Lu Kaiyu, and Shen Xinyi all firmly resisted 5-player games. The bottom line was relay games. But tonight the 3 of them looked at each other and agreed to Joseu's proposal for the first time. The achievement that eyes dreamed of was about to be achieved, but Li Jie was not happy at all. They want him to work hard and die. Hey! Stop dragging me. I'll go by myself. These 4 female hooligans. Time flew by, and soon another 5 or 6 days passed. On the night of New Year's Day, Li Jie ended up doing nothing. He stayed in the master bedroom with Xiao Qiao, Joseu, Shen Xinyi, and Lu Kaiyu, and slept a solid night. Although the 4 of them tempted him in various ways, he was determined not to be moved. How could such a serious person like him mess around and play a 5-player game? Xiao Qiao and Joseu were all surprised by Li Jie's abnormal performance. He actually changed his gender? Xiao Qiao was even more suspicious and asked, "Is he playing too many Dragon Knight games and his health is not good?" Seeing that Xiao Qiao dared to be so provocative, Li Jie pulled her over and slapped her. He beat her hard on her little buttocks, punishing her severely. On the morning of January 7th, Li Jie was reading a script in the president's office. Beep, The phone on the table suddenly vibrated twice. Li Jie put down the script, picked up the phone and took a look, and couldn't help but smile. It was a message from Wang Zhaining. Since getting his contact information, Wang Zhaining has frequently sent him messages and called him. This kind of love-minded little girl is indeed quite annoying. Fortunately, Wang Zhaining still knew how to exercise restraint and sent 2 or 3 messages. If Li Jie didn't reply, she would know that he was busy and would not send any more messages, let alone play any fatal chain dunks. When Li Jie has time after work, he will send her messages and call her to chat. Wang Zhaining responded instantly to Li Jie's text messages and phone calls. Apparently she had been waiting for his reply. This Wang Zhaining looks like a goddess on the surface, but who knows that she is actually a bitch. I licked Li Jie to the extreme. Now Li Jie is enjoying her little pestering. Who doesn't like to be licked? In the past few days, Li Jie went to see Wang Zhaining twice more. In her small rental house, I played the kneeling game with her. The more Wang Zhaining dislikes being punished by kneeling, the more Li Jie likes to punish her. Seeing her devoted little look, he felt an overwhelming sense of accomplishment. At this time, the office door was pushed open, and Lu Kai walked in with a cup of coffee. "Honey, please take a break and drink some coffee." Seeing Lu Kai coming to deliver coffee again, Li Jie couldn't help but have a headache. There is a price to pay for drinking her coffee. After New Year's Day, the previous schedule arrangement was completely abolished. In order to be the first to get a spot, the 4 of them, Xiaoqiao, used all kinds of means to exploit him uncontrollably. During the day at the company, Lu Kai squeezed people in the name of delivering coffee. Back at the villa in the evening, Xiaoqiao, Zhou Ziyu, and Shen Xinyi were even more oppressive. There are 4 beautiful girls with their own characteristics, you can do whatever you want. It seems very enviable, but if you play like this every day, which man can handle it? Li Jie feels that his life is harder than that of 996. 996 still has 1 day off, and he doesn't even have a day off. What's more, it feels really uncomfortable to be reduced to a tool. Lu Kai put the coffee on the table, sat in Li Jie's arms, and got tired of him. "Husband. Here we go again." Li Jie sighed in his heart. "Okay, stop making trouble and sit with me for a while." He stretched out his arms and hugged Lu Kai tightly to prevent her from moving. "We can't go on like this, we must set a new rule for them. Otherwise, he would really work hard and die." Beep, the phone on the table vibrated twice more. Li Jie picked up his phone, took a look at it, and then replied with a message. "Husband, who sent you a message?" Lu Kai couldn't help but ask. She felt something was wrong with Li Jie, and her cell phone had been ringing non-stop these days. "Not only when I'm at work during the day, but when I get home at night, I'm always fiddling with my phone." "It's Lu Yufei." Li Jie pulled out Lu Yufei as a shield. "She's coming over today to discuss the new play." A few kilometers away from Kudong Group, a black Mercedes-Benz Sprinter RV was driving on the road. In the RV, Lu Yufei was sitting in the back seat, playing Angry Birds on her mobile phone. Next to her sat a tall, dark-skinned young girl. This was her assistant named Yi. After the establishment of the studio, they began to prepare a management team for Lu Yufei, including agents, publicists, public relations, stylists, work assistants, life assistants, makeup artists, photographers, nutritionists, drivers, etc. There are 20 or 30 people in the entire team, dedicated to serving her alone. Her treatment is absolutely top-notch. However, we have not yet recruited all the people, only 7 or 8 people. This Mercedes-Benz Sprinter RV was also equipped for her by the company and is worth more than 3 million. The 9-seater extended luxury modified version is equipped with bedrooms, dressing tables, refrigerators, flat-screen TVs, and even bathroom showers, with all living facilities. In addition, Considering that the Ferrari 485 he ordered would not arrive for half a year, Li Jie bought an off-the-shelf Mercedes-Benz Big G for Lu Yufei as a scooter. It's great for her. Lu Yufei played the game for a while, and when she saw that she was almost at the company, she put down her phone and stopped playing. Angry Birds was played by Li Jianli. After playing it, Lu Yufei thought it was quite interesting and would play it occasionally when she had nothing to do. When Lu Yufei was playing the game just now, she was thinking of Li Jie. In the recent past, Li Jie had only been to her once, and he had also been a dragon knight. No, he left right after the show, and he didn't even spend the night. This made her feel a little resentful. When she controlled the angry bird to fight monsters, it was as if she was beating Li Jie, and she kept hitting him hard. The nanny car drove into the underground parking lot of the office building. After getting off, Lu Yufei and her assistant An Yi took the elevator upstairs to Kudong Group. Employees coming and going in the company greeted Lu Yufei warmly after seeing her. After learning that the group had actually signed Lu Yufei, the employees of the company, especially the male employees, were very excited. Working in the same company as a big star, it was a more honorable thing to say it out. What's more, there is still a chance to meet each other. When they arrived at the CEO's office, Lu Yufei and An Yi knocked on the door and walked in. Seeing Lu Yufei coming, Zhuang Qian stood up quickly and said with a smile, "Yufei, are you here to see Mr. Li? This is a big star, and he has an unusual relationship with his boss." Lu Yufei also smiled and nodded, "Well, Mr. Li and I have made an appointment." Yufei, wait a minute, Zhuang Qian said, picked up the landline and made a call. Not long after the call, the door to the inner office opened and Lu Kaiu walked out. She glanced at Lu Yufei and said, "Yufei, Mr. Li wants you to come in." Lu Yufei nodded to Lu Kaiu, and then said to her assistant An Yi, "Xiao Tai, wait for me here." Why did she call An Yi Xiaoti? Because the character Yi looked like iron at first glance, Lu Yufei nicknamed An Yi Xiaoti. "Qingzi, you're here." Seeing Lu Yufei come in, Li Jie stood up from behind his desk with a smile. Lu Yufei glanced at him and said, "Mr. Li. Don't be so unfamiliar, just call me Brother Jie as usual." After speaking, Li Jie pointed to the sofa beside him and asked her to sit down. "Sit down." After Lu Yufei sat down, he picked up the script on his desk and sat down next to her. "Sissy, your personal studio has been established, and your new work should be put on the schedule as soon as possible. This is a new play I have arranged for you. You should read the script first." Li Jie said and handed her the script in his hand. Lu Yufei took the script, flipped through a few pages, then stopped, raised her head and said hesitantly, "Brother Jie, is this a TV series?" Li Jie heard the reluctance in her tone, smiled and said, "Sissy, I know you are not willing to act in TV series, but after all, you have not had a new work for more than a year, and your popularity has inevitably declined. So the most important thing for you right now is not to rush into the big screen, but to first restore your popularity to its peak state, or even take it to the next level. The script of this drama is very good. Once completed, it will become another masterpiece of yours. Moreover, this drama is a modern drama and will also be a transformational drama for you." He paused and then said, "Besides, the preparation of Pacific Rim takes time. During this time, you might as well shoot one more film instead of being idle." Although De Tian has been confirmed to star in Pacific Rim, Lu Yufei will also appear as the second female lead. After all, De Tian is just an unknown newcomer. A big production like Pacific Rim with an investment of 1 or 2 billion will definitely not be able to do without 1 or 2 popular actors to drive the box office. Besides, Lu Yufei has already acted as a voice actor for De Tian. Is it reasonable for Wanda not to spend more money and not arrange more films for Cuckoo Entertainment's upcoming movies such as The Journey? After hearing what Li Jie said, Lu Yufei nodded, "Okay, Let me read the script first. After saying that, she lowered her head and read the script carefully. Li Jie stopped talking and waited quietly. About half an hour later, Lu Yufei closed the script, raised her head and said, "This script is indeed very creative, but I think it contains a lot of content involving ghosts. Can this drama pass the censorship in China? As we all know, domestic film and television dramas cannot contain ghosts." Li Jie smiled and said, "Of course it won't pass the review, but I don't plan to broadcast it on the TV station. The drama will be broadcast online." Web drama? Lu Yufei was stunned and looked at Li Jie in disbelief. He actually asked her to act in an online drama? Congratulations to everyone for a happy new year. May all your wishes come true. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I really didn't want to be a warm man when I was reborn. Author, Li Yuanzhe. Chapter 420. Even 10 years later, top celebrities are reluctant to act in online dramas unless it is a big budget project. Otherwise, there would be no such term as web drama celebrity. At this time, online dramas had just sprouted, and they were synonymous with rough production. No 18th-tier young actors were willing to act in them, let alone top-tier actors like Lu Yufei. Many people are even ashamed of starring in online dramas and feel that they are cheap. This is like someone telling the popular Yang Function and Zhao Xiaodao, "Would you like to star in a big online movie?" How do you think they would feel? This is how Lu Yufei feels now. She forced a smile and said, "Brother Jie, are you kidding me?" "Of course I'm not kidding." Li Jie leaned on the sofa and put his arm around her waist. "It is true that this is a web drama, but it is a large-scale production with an investment of more than 30 million. It will be co-produced with South Korea and is mainly aimed at overseas, especially the Asian market." The new drama Li Jie arranged for Lu Yufei was not Star U, but Li Menyu's Moon Hotel. That is Hotel del Luna. Star U he was about to press back. The show Moon Hotel is a bit like a combination of Goblin and Pawn Shop No. 8. The Moon Hotel is a magical hotel, and its guests are all kinds of ghosts. They all have more or less obsessions and demands in their hearts and do not want to be reincarnated. The owner of the hotel, Zhang Menyu, is responsible for helping them fulfill their last wishes and receiving a certain amount of remuneration. Li Jie wants to film the drama Moon Hotel, mainly because the plot of this drama is indeed quite creative, especially since there are no film and television dramas such as Happy Family and Ghost that fulfill the wishes of ghosts. The themes of domestic film and television dramas are still relatively restricted. For example, ghosts cannot be included in TV dramas and movies. Fortunately, the review department has not yet supervised online dramas at this time, and the themes can be filmed as desired. This Moon Hotel will definitely become a hit after it is broadcast online, just like Soul Fairy. Because ghost and supernatural themes are so rare in China, they are extremely attractive to audiences. However, the good period for online dramas to flourish is only in the past few years. When the review department strengthens the supervision of online dramas will no longer be allowed to be filmed casually, just like Taiwanese dramas. Therefore, Li Jie plans to use the past few years to shoot more films and TV series involving supernatural and time travel themes. After listening to Li Jie's explanation, Lu Yufei understood, but was still reluctant. She doesn't even want to film TV series anymore, let alone web series. If it hadn't been for Li Jie, if it had been anyone else, she would have refused. Li Jie glanced at her and said, "Sissy, who is the highest paid actress in domestic TV dramas now?" "I don't know much about this, but the salary of first-tier stars in TV series is roughly 150,000 to 200,000. Lu Yufei paused and said, "Brother Jie, why are you asking this? At present, the salary of domestic stars has not skyrocketed. The highest paid male actor is Lee Yubin, 200,000 per episode, and the highest paid female actor is Zhang Wenli, 150,000 per episode. Other first-line male and female stars probably have between 100,000 and 150,000. This salary is extremely high compared to ordinary people, but it is far from being compared with the astronomical salary in later generations. 80 million for a play? Baby Yang, I work very hard when I act, and it's worth the price. The maximum is 200,000, right? Li Jie looked at Liu Yufei and said, I'll give you 200,000 per episode. Based on a 45-minute episode, this Moon Hotel will take about 25 episodes. In other words, Liu Yufei can get 5 million for this one drama. This is absolutely a sky-high price for the current actresses in the industry. When Liu Yufei heard this, she quickly said, Brother Jie, this is not about money. This is indeed not a matter of money. An actor like Liu Yufei will not accept any drama just for money. At least the price wasn't enough to hit her. Li Jie smiled, hugged Liu Yufei into his arms, stroked her back and said, Qingzi, believe me, I will definitely not cheat you. If this drama is done well, you can become famous throughout Asia. Liu Yufei rested her head on his shoulder, bit her lip and thought for a while, then said, Okay, Brother Jie, I will listen to you, but you really don't need to pay such a high salary. 200,000 per episode, which is more than a veteran in the industry like Zhang Wenli. This is putting her on the fire. Then it's 150,000 per episode. It can't be lowered anymore. You are worth this price. Li Jie paused and said, the salary represents the celebrity status. Because it is a web drama, your salary cannot be lower. Why did he have to let Liu Yufei star in Moon Hotel? Because the current influence and user exposure of online dramas is still too low, and it is far from being able to compare with star dramas. Especially at this time, one drama has 4 stars, and its influence is too great. It is not difficult for Moon Hotel to become a small hit on the internet, but in order to explode and become a phenomenon-level drama that is sought after and discussed by the whole people, it must have top-notch franchises. Top celebrities like Liu Yufei bring their own popularity and topics. If you ask people to buy tickets to go to the cinema, it is estimated that not many people will buy it except her fans, but if it is a TV series that can be watched for free, then her influence will be too great. Not to mention that this is her first appearance in a TV series after 4 years. This stunt alone is enough to make countless viewers look forward to it. Besides, Liu Yufei is also very suitable to play Zhang Menyu, a character who is arrogant, cold, and lonely inside. She is suitable for playing this kind of airy and ungrounded role. Liu Yufei is best suited to play leading female roles, and transitioning to making movies, especially literary films, is just a fool's errand. Wouldn't it be better to make a vase with acting skills? Li Jie let go of Liu Yufei, looked at her and said, the actor you are starring with is called Chen Xiao. He is a newly signed artist by the company. He has graduated from a major and has a good appearance, but he is not famous. The second male lead and the second female lead are both South Koreans. One is named Lee Ji-eun and the other is Kim Soo-hyun. They are also newcomers, so this drama relies on you to take the lead. Li Jie not only signed Lee Menu and Lee Ji-eun, but also recently asked the South Korean branch to sign Kim Soo-hyun. Kim Soo-hyun is more suitable for the role of Professor Du. What he calls a co-production is left hand and right hand. Cuckoo Entertainment co-produced it with the South Korean branch LZ Entertainment, and the actors are all artists under LZ Entertainment. Co-productions have policy advantages and are also conducive to entering the South Korean market. Besides, the subject of ghosts and supernatural beings is still relatively sensitive in China, even for online dramas. It doesn't matter if it's not popular. If it explodes, it will easily attract the attention of the superiors. But if it were a co-production, it wouldn't be that eye-catching. Lu Yufei nodded and said, "Brother Jie, don't worry, I will perform well." Li Jie smiled and said, "I'm sure I'm not worried about you." In terms of dedication, Lu Yufei has nothing to say. She is very serious and hard-working in filming and can endure hardships. Apart from other things, she completed many of the difficult fight scenes in the Condor by herself. For this alone, few of the traffic stars of later generations can do this. After Moon Hotel is filmed, Li Jie will let Bilibili and Kudong Video broadcast it simultaneously. And get paid advance screenings out in advance. If Moon Hotel can succeed, it proves that the model of dual-platform broadcast and top-notch production works. From now on, the TV series produced by Cuckoo Entertainment will mainly be broadcast online and sell overseas copyrights. Li Jie doesn't want to sell the TV series directly to the TV station. If he wants to sell it, he has to wait until the TV series becomes popular on the internet and the TV station takes the initiative to buy it. To sell TV dramas in China, it all depends on the TV station's attitude. When selling TV dramas, you need to build relationships. After the TV series is broadcast, you need to buy ratings. After the TV series is finished, you still have to worry about the payment. There are too many sad facts. In the next 2 years, the online copyrights of popular dramas will skyrocket. This year's hit drama Who's in Charge of My Youth has a sky-high price of 2/10,000 episodes, but it's normal to buy a solo drama for 20-30 million in 2011. Penguin Video even bought the yet-to-be-aired Palace Lockbeat Curtain at a sky-high price of 1.85 million per episode. At that time, the TV series produced by Cuckoo Entertainment can be sold to other video platforms at high prices even if they are not played on Kudong Video. After talking about business, Li Jie hugged Lu Yufei and tilted his head. He buried his head in her fair neck and rubbed it, and his hands became restless. Just when he was thinking about having an office scene with her, Lu Kaiu opened the door and walked in with 2 cups of coffee. Seeing the intimate scene between the two of them, she was stunned for a moment, with a playful look on her face, as if she was caught in bed. Ahem, she coughed twice. Only then did Lu Yufei notice that someone was coming. She quickly pushed Li Jie away and stood up with a blushing face. Why didn't the secretary even knock on the door when he came in? Li Jie glanced at Lu Yufei who looked embarrassed, then looked at Lu Kaiu who looked playful, and smiled casually. His face is thicker than the city wall now, and he is no longer the introverted boy who blushes after saying a few words to a girl. "Jie, Mr. Li, if nothing happens, I'll leave first," Lu Yufei said. "Okay, I'll see you off." Li Jie stood up with a smile. He sent Lu Yufei to the door of the president's office, watched her walk away with her assistant, and then returned to the office. Outside the office, Zhuang Qian, Bai Wei, Huo Menjian and more than a dozen girls, all dressed in small shirts and white shirts and hip-covering skirts, were sitting at desks and busy with their work. Li Jie looked them over. Each pair of beautiful legs in stockings had its own characteristics. He was getting tired of seeing them wearing stockings every day. Huo Menjian stood up from her desk, pointed to a pile of documents on the table, and said, "Mr. Li, these documents were just sent from below and need to be reviewed by you personally." After saying that, she picked up the file. Li Jie walked to Huo Menjian and said, "No need to trouble you, I can just take it in myself." With that said, he took the document from her hand. After returning to the inner office with the documents in hand, Li Jie found Lu Kaiu sitting behind his desk, leaning back on the seat, with a pair of beautiful black legs together, looking at him with a half smile. She looks a bit like a beautiful CEO. These long legs are really getting smaller and smaller. Can she sit in that position? If she wanted to sit in that position, she could only sit on his lap. Li Jie put the documents on his desk, looked at her with a smile, and joked, "Mr. Lu, these documents have just been sent from below. You need to read them in person." Lu Kaiu smiled reservedly. I understand, little Litzy, please get out. Little Plum. Li Jie was angry and funny. He came to Lu Kaiu, pulled her up from the chair and put her on the desk. Then he raised his hand to her buttocks and slapped her hard. Snapped. Let you be neither big nor small. Lu Kaiu grunted after being beaten, turned her head and looked at him with resentful eyes. Husband, didn't you say you were not interested? Why did you become interested again when you saw Lu Yufei? This guy pushed her back and forth, but he was very positive about being a dragon knight. After hearing this, Li Jie lost his composure and got angry and hit her again. Snapped. Can you blame him? It all needs that damn freshness. Okay, get up. Li Jie let go of Lu Kaiu. Lu Kaiu got up from the table and hugged him like a baby. Husband. Hey, don't move. Entering late January, approaching the Chinese New Year, the weather in Shanghai is getting colder and colder, with the lowest temperature reaching -2 or 3 degrees Celsius. In the past half-month, Li Jie finally felt a little more relaxed. He made a new schedule for Xiao Jiao and Zhou Ziyu. He takes turns spending 1 day a week with them and 1 or 2 days off. However, it is impossible to say how relaxed it is. He still has to talk on the phone with Wang Zhaining, play with Lu Yufei, and take care of Luan Xiaolin and others. In addition, as the end of the year approaches, the company's affairs are also extremely busy. It can be said that we are busy all day long. January 22nd is the Labo Festival. In the evening, after Li Jie got off work from the company and returned to the villa, he saw Xiao Jiao and Shen Xian sitting on the sofa in the living room, watching TV and discussing something. Shen Xinyi was stuffing snacks into his mouth from time to time, and his mouth was bulging. The TV show is If You Are the One. It's not the movie If You Are the One, but the dating show If You Are the One. This program was broadcast on January 15 when the third episode was broadcast on the 17th. A female guest named Ma quickly ignited public opinion by saying, "I'd better sit in the BMW and cry. It is better to cry in a BMW than laugh on a bicycle." This sentence has also become an internet buzzword. With the popularity and topic brought by this incident, If You Are the One began to explode. Seeing Xiao Jiao and Shen Xinyi seriously discussing which of the 3 female guests the male guest would choose, Li Jie couldn't help but said, "This is all fake, you two can just watch it for fun, don't take it seriously." It was later revealed that this show was scripted, and many of the guests were patrons. It was an entertainment show with a blind date gimmick, but now many people are watching it seriously. Xiao Jiao and Shen Xinyi like to watch this show very much. They don't need to go on a blind date. What's the use of watching this thing? Fake. Xiao Jiao turned around and glanced at Li Jie. "You've never been on a show, how can you be so sure?" Suddenly, she thought of something and her eyes lit up. "Husband, why don't we both go to the show? I'll stand on the stage, and then you'll hold my hand." When Li Jie heard this, he was speechless. This little Jiao is really whimsical. He, a rich man worth tens of billions, went to participate in a dating show? What kind of international joke are you kidding? If word got out, he would be embarrassed to hang out among the rich. If you want to be on the show, just go. I won't bother you anyway, Li Jie said angrily. Xiao Jiao curled his lips and said, "If you don't go, I won't go. Why are you so mean?" At this time, Zhou Ziyu wore an apron and walked out of the kitchen, followed by Zhao Minjiao. In the past half-month, she often brought Zhao Minjiao to live here, and Xiao Jiao also often brought Bai Wei to live here. The two seemed to be competing with each other. However, Li Jie suffered from their rivalry. "There are 2 beautiful grasses on the edge of the nest that dangle in front of my eyes from time to time, but I can only look at them but not eat them, which is a bit torturous." You can't blame Li Jie for being too carefree, I can only say that men are greedy for novelty. Zhou Ziyu helped Li Jie take off his coat and said with a smile, "Honey, today is laba, so let's not go out to eat?" I cooked laba porridge and made some home-cooked dishes with Minjeo. Li Jie also smiled and nodded, "Okay, I'll listen to you." Then he looked at Zhao Minjeo. "Minjeo can also cook." Zhou Ziyu glanced at Zhao Minjeo with a smile, "Her skills are quite good." Seeing Zhou Ziyu being courteous to Li Jie, Xiao Qiao realized that she was outcompeted by Zhou Ziyu again. The fox is so scheming this week. Xiao Qiao is more casual and lazy by nature, and her ability to look at others and serve others is completely incomparable to Zhou Ziyu's. She also has a 3-minute enthusiasm for doing things. Before, she was determined to be a blockbuster. She signed up for a lot of talent cram schools such as speaking, painting, playing piano, etc. But recently, her enthusiasm for learning has faded. She spends 3 days fishing and 2 days drying nets, and she doesn't go to cram schools very much. Xiao Qiao also made an excuse for herself. She had to prepare for next year's postgraduate entrance examination and was busy preparing for a beauty club. In fact, she was not prepared for the postgraduate entrance examination, and she didn't care much about the beauty club. I really didn't want to be a warm man when I was reborn. Author, Li Yuanzhe. Chapter 421. Before the meal was ready, Li Jie also sat down on the sofa and watched TV with Xiao Qiao and Shen Xinyi. The camera on TV showed a female guest surnamed Ma in red. She joked and said the famous saying with a smile, "I'd better sit in the BMW and cry." Li Jie has not watched this program, and now it seems that there is no big problem with what the female guest named Ma said. The question raised by the male guest was whether she would like to ride a bicycle often. She just expressed her refusal in a joking way. "I don't like you, so don't insist on choosing me." She didn't mean to promote money worship. But her words were obviously misinterpreted and amplified by the media, and she became a representative of the money-worshipping girl. Besides, the other person's profession is a graphic model, and 9 out of 10 so-called graphic models are wild models. Most of these female guests are drags invited by the program team. They are not really here for a blind date at all, but just to get advertising fees and become famous. She was dressed in red and black stockings, with her breasts looming, obviously just to attract attention. Although the attitude of the female guest surnamed Ma has been clearly revealed, the male guests still insisted on choosing the other person. The result was no surprise, and they failed to hold hands and left sadly. Li Jie looked away from the TV and took out his mobile phone to take a look. No new text messages. Today, for some unknown reason, Wang's Haining suddenly stopped harassing him. "I just sent a greeting text message in the morning, but no more messages." He was used to being harassed by her, but now that she suddenly became quiet, he was a little uncomfortable with it. Li Jie thought for a while and took the initiative to send her a text message. The dinner was very sumptuous. Zhou Ziyu and Zhao Minjeo cooked 15 or 6 dishes together, and the lava porridge was especially delicious. Li Jie discovered that Zhao Minjeo's cooking skills were indeed quite good, and his specialty dish, spicy grilled crucian carp, tasted great. After dinner, he sat with the 4 of them, no, 5, and Zhao Minjeo for a while, and then went to the underground gym to exercise. After working out in the gym for more than half an hour and sweating a little, Li Jie went to take a shower. When he returned to the room after taking a shower, he found Zhou Ziyu wearing a very sexy black suspender nightgown and already waiting for him on the bed. According to the schedule, it was her turn today. Li Jie smiled, got on the bed, and held her in his arms. "Are you getting bored of waiting?" With a smile on her face, Zhou Ziyu bit her lip and said, "No. The little appearance is very charming." Li Jie looked at his little lover, his heart moved, he lowered his head and kissed her, his hands became restless. Zhou Ziyu took the initiative to hug his neck and responded enthusiastically. The two were intimate for a while, and Li Jie was about to turn over and press her down, but Josio stopped him and whispered something in his ear. Li Jie smiled and said, "Okay, then you'll be on top." After struggling for more than an hour, the two of them were finally done. Josio's pretty face was blushing, her charming eyes were silky, her hair was wet with sweat, her delicate body was limp in Li Jie's arms, and she was too lazy to move a finger. Li Jie gently stroked her white and smooth back. Her skin was so tender that it seemed like water could be squeezed out of it. After a while, she regained some strength, raised her head and said, "Husband, did you drink medicinal wine again?" Li Jie chuckled lightly and said, "Well, I drank a little. For a beautiful woman like Josio, the greatest respect is to work hard and die." Josio said softly, "Husband, you should drink less medicine. Drinking too much is not good for your health." She was not only worried about Li Jie's health, but also worried that his drinking would affect his pregnancy plan. Li Jie listened and smiled but said nothing. "You still have to drink medicinal wine." He had already sent the medicinal wine to a professional drug testing agency, and it had been tested many times. There was nothing wrong with the medicinal ingredients. Drinking it properly would help nourish the body. Xiao Qiao and the other four were all eager to get pregnant and get their status as soon as possible, but Li Jie didn't want them to get pregnant too early. They were still very young, and he hoped they could play for a few more years. Besides, Xiao Qiao and Shen Xinyi are still like children, so how can they take care of them well? "Husband," Josio looked at him and hesitated to speak. Li Jie said funnily, "Xiao, you can say whatever you want. There is nothing else you can't say to me." Josio bit her lip and said hesitantly, "How about we go to the hospital for a checkup together? She, Xiao Qiao, Lu Kaiyu, and Shen Xinyi have been together with Li Jie for such a long time, and they haven't taken any precautions, but none of them are pregnant. This is really abnormal." Although she collected evidence privately and went to the hospital for examination, and the examination results were all normal, experts said that just a routine examination of the evidence was not enough. It was best for the man to come to the hospital in person for a comprehensive physical examination. When Li Jie heard this, he was a little speechless. He was in such good physical condition, how could there be a problem? "If you don't go, there's nothing wrong with my health." Josio sighed softly in his heart. Why did this guy keep his illness to himself and avoid medical treatment? She was very afraid that there was something wrong with Li Jie. If they really couldn't have children, who would inherit the billions, tens of billions or even more of the family property? You can't adopt a child, right? If there is a problem, if you find it early, you can find a solution in time. "Husband, I also believe that there is nothing wrong with your health. You just need to go to the hospital for a normal physical examination," Josio persuaded in a soft voice. Li Jie looked at her and shook his head inwardly. His little lover didn't believe him. He was certain that there was nothing wrong with his body. Although he has never gotten anyone pregnant, he has donated evidence and done detailed examinations. There is absolutely nothing wrong with his body. "Honey, what are you doing?" Josio couldn't help but ask when he saw that she was pressed under him again. Li Jie lowered his head and kissed her, and said with a smile, "Don't you just want a child? I wish I could help you create more opportunities." In order to satisfy his little lover's wish, he decided to risk his own life. After struggling for more than an hour, when it was over again, Josio was so sleepy and tired that she couldn't even open her eyes. Li Jie looked at her and smiled. Although he was a little tired, he felt full of accomplishment. "I looked at the clock on the wall and saw that it was already early in the morning. He works really hard. He is busy at the company during the day and even busier when he comes home at night." After saying Versailles in his mind, Li Jie suddenly remembered something and picked up the mobile phone placed on the bedside and took a look. Wang's Heining has not responded to the message yet. Could something happen to her? Li Jie gently pushed Josio away, covered her with the quilt, and then got up and got out of bed. Honey, what are you doing? Josie reluctantly opened her eyes and said softly. Li Jie smiled at her and said, you go to bed first, I'll go to the bathroom. After leaving the bedroom and coming to the bathroom, he took his cell phone and dialed Wang's Haining. Sorry, the phone you dialed has been turned off. The phone is off. Nothing really happened to her, right? Li Jie was really worried. After thinking about it, he made another call. After hanging up the phone, he left the bathroom and went downstairs to the cloakroom to change clothes. When Li Jie finished changing his clothes and came out of the cloakroom, he saw Ruanjing, dressed in sportswear, already waiting for him in the living room. Mr. Li. Li Jie nodded to her. Xiaojing, I'm disturbing your rest. It's a bit urgent and I need you to accompany me out. Ruanjing said quickly, Mr. Li, don't be so polite. This is all my responsibility. Li Jie was no longer polite and walked out first. Let's go. Instead of driving the Bentley Yazzie, the two got into a white BMW SUV. Li Jie drove out of the villa and drove towards the Normal University. More than 10 minutes later, the car drove into the community where Wang's Haining rented. Li Jie took Ruanjing upstairs to the door of Wang's Haining's rental house on the 3rd floor. He took out the key and opened the door. This key was given to him by Wang's Haining. Turning on the light and walking into the rental house, Li Jie found that the room was a bit messy, a few clothes were missing from the cabinet, and Wang's Haining's small suitcase was also missing. Wang's Haining must have left, and she left in a hurry. In the morning, she sent him a greeting message and used several emoticons. She was obviously in a good mood. Why did she leave suddenly? Not even a hello. More importantly, where did she go? Li Jie suddenly discovered that he had no other way to contact Wang's Haining. He did not know the contact information of her relatives and friends, and the school was now on holiday. This is a bit troublesome. Li Jie took out his cell phone and wanted to try calling Wang's Haining again. If that didn't work, he would have to ask the police to check her whereabouts. But at this moment, his cell phone rang suddenly. After looking at the caller ID, Li Jie immediately answered the call and said in a deep voice, "Where have you been? If the call doesn't go through, I will call the police." Hearing his voice, Wang's Haining burst into tears on the other side of the phone. "Brother Jie, something happened to my mother." A few minutes later, Li Jie hung up the phone and said to Ruanjing with a serious face, "Let's go to the airport." After going downstairs and getting in the car, he started the car and said, "Xiaojing, please check when the latest flight to Quancheng is." Ruanjing glanced at him and said, "Mr. Li, my phone can't connect to the internet." "Use mine." Li Jie took out his cell phone and gave it to her. He decided to have a position with Xiao Qiao and Zhou Ziu in the future. This way, if something unexpected happens, their location can be determined immediately. Today's incident is a lesson. More than 3 hours later, Li Jie and Ruanjing got on the plane to Quancheng together. In less than 2 hours, the plane arrived in Quancheng. After leaving the airport with Ruanjing, Li Jie stopped a taxi and headed straight to Zizhu City. By the time he arrived in Zizhu City, it was already past 6 o'clock in the morning. Li Jie didn't sleep all night. He spent most of the time on the phone with Wang's Haining to calm her down. He only squinted for a while on the plane, but he didn't fall asleep either. The taxi stopped in front of the city's #1 hospital. After getting out of the car, he took Ruanjing into the hospital. When I arrived at the ICU ward of the inpatient department, I saw Wang's Haining sitting blankly on a chair outside the ward. Her beautiful eyes were red, her lips were chapped, and she looked extremely haggard. Li Jie sighed in his heart, came to her side and called out softly, "Haining." Wang's Haining came to her senses, raised her head and saw Li Jie coming, threw herself into his arms and cried loudly. "Brother Jie, what should I do? My mother is dying." Li Jie gently stroked her back to comfort her. "Okay, don't cry. Don't worry, I'm here. He was also surprised and shocked when he received a call from Wang Zhaining. Her mother was in a car accident. Wang Zhaining's mother works in a magazine, which is considered a public institution. On the way to work at the company on the 22nd, she was hit by a long-distance truck. She was seriously injured, but the driver drove away. After Wang Zhaining received the news, she felt like the sky was falling and rushed to her hometown like crazy. Wang Zhaining's parents divorced when she was in elementary school. Her father had already started a family again and had basically no contact with her. Her mother was her only relative. It took her 5 or 6 hours to get to the hospital without eating or drinking. After signing the critical illness notice, the doctor told her that her mother was seriously injured and her life was in danger. Fortunately, she was rescued after more than 3 hours of resuscitation. As long as we can survive these dangerous days, our lives can be saved. Wang Zhaining sat outside the ward, guarding her in agony, praying that her mother would be safe. But in the early morning of the 23rd, her mother's injuries recurred and she was sent to the emergency room again. The doctor also gave her a critical illness notice again and reminded her to be mentally prepared. After Wang Zhaining heard this, her heart completely collapsed, and she called Li Jie to cry and ask for help. At first she didn't want to look for Li Jie, for fear of causing trouble to him, but now she couldn't care less about anything, and he was the only one she could rely on when she was most helpless. Under Li Jie's soft words of comfort, Wang Zhaining's mood slowly calmed down. "How is Auntie doing now?" Li Jie asked. "It's very bad. The doctor said it's very pessimistic, so I should be mentally prepared," Wang Zhaining choked up and said. After more than 2 hours of emergency rescue, although Ms. Wang was rescued, she was only temporarily out of danger. At this time, a male doctor in his 40s came out of the CU ward. "Dr. Wu," Wang Zhaining stood up immediately when he saw the other party. Li Jie immediately understood that this doctor should be Wang Zhaining's mother's attending doctor. Dr. Wu looked at the haggard Wang Zhaining and sighed softly, "Ms. Wang, we really tried our best." When Wang Zhaining heard this, she fell directly into Li Jie's arms and almost fainted. Dr. Wu was startled by her reaction and quickly explained, "Ms. Wang, don't get me wrong. Your mother's current situation is not very optimistic, but as long as she can survive the dangerous period, she can turn the corner." Li Jie glanced at Dr. Wu. What he said was too easy for people to misunderstand. He had a sad and resigned tone. No wonder Wang Zhaining was frightened. Wang Zhaining regained her composure after hearing that something was wrong with her mother. But she had stayed up for nearly a day and night without drinking any water. After being frightened like this again, she was exhausted physically and mentally. She couldn't bear it anymore and fell asleep in Li Jie's arms. Li Jie handed Wang Zhaining to Ruanjing. "Xiaojing, help me take care of her for a while." Then he said to Dr. Wu, "Dr. Wu, I am her boyfriend. Can I talk to you?" Dr. Wu nodded, "Go to my office and talk." Seeing Li Jie and Dr. Wu walking away, Ruanjing withdrew her gaze and focused her gaze on Wang Zhaining in her arms. Her boss is so charming. Quietly, he hooked up with a beautiful woman again. However, her boss is also very kind to women. She watched him rush around all night for this girl. With money, good looks, and hard work, it's no wonder so many girls like him. Arriving at the doctor's office, Dr. Wu asked Li Jie to sit down and asked, "Sir, what is your surname?" "My surname is Li," Li Jie said, taking out a business card and handing it to the other party.